Hey, what's up, everyone? There we go. Had a speaker on. All right, let's get going. Hey, what's up, Mort? Appreciate it. Making super tiny stuff right when you wake up and get going. It's not recommended. It's like, yeah, I probably should have done this last night when I was all primed up. It's fine. It's just, like after like a few hours, your eyes kind of relax. Right now, my eyes are like, what am I looking at, dude? Like, oh, just chill out. It's the benefits to working digitally, right? That you can just zoom it in a little bit, so you don't have to be like, bam. I'd like to say it's age, but I've always had a problem seeing like just relaxing, super tiny stuff. Although it has gotten a little worse over the last several years. It's a little more like, all right, what am I looking at? I had it looked at. They say my eyesight's fine, so it's not. Although to be fair, I think I draw traditionally I can draw super tiny stuff better now than when in my 20s. So like it's pretty. I'm probably just drawing super tiny things, with accuracy that I wouldn't have even attempted 15 years ago. Have you had your morning brew? Yeah, my mix is 50-50 caffeine and decaf, and then after the first pot, it's all decaf. So I don't really over caffeine it, you know. This is a lot smaller than it looks. This dude is about an inch and a half tall. Maybe, I guess at that foot about 2 inches, but mostly this is within an inch and a quarter. This thing here. So it's just a tiny guy. And then you have to make sure like your hand goes where your eye is looking, you know? So you don't just go "Bleh!" like that. Like you're like, well, I gotta start over. It's like drawing with your arm helps, but really only when like you're going for like the broad strokes. When you're doing this tiny stuff, it's like, no, man, it's a little wrist action. There's no way around that. Just curious, do you do design for fun when you have free time, like right now? Because the concept school designer behind FDZ School never considers doing design outside of their work hours. What was it, Feng Shui? Talk about Feng Shui? Um, yeah, the thing about Feng Shui, dude, is I really appreciated his Gnomon videos back in like 2004 because I had sort of stumbled on a silhouette design on my own, like around the seventh grade. But like, I didn't have anyone to like explain what to me like what I was doing, right? So it's super helpful. I've seen a lot of that school and what they post. It's very good for technical production, but like, um, how do I say this? Like, in terms of being an artist, like, and defining your voice, that is the complete wrong way to go. Like, technical artist in MMOs and mobile video gaming, just do that, you know? However, every one of them artists look the same, dude. They're all indistinguishable from the next. And if you're going to develop your voice as an individual, right? Like as an artist, um, yeah, sometimes it turns off, it turns on. You kind of have to like have a project that you're focused on, but then you have to also have like free time to just explore medium or design or whatever, like wherever your fancy takes you, my friend. You know, because it's a matter of defining emotion. It's not a technical journey; it's an expressive journey. And that is some shit that they can't teach at schools. It took me a long time to learn that one, to get out of the technical side, which, um, you know, somebody great ends. Yeah. So, like, what I'm doing now would not be helpful to a video game production, you know? But I'm not doing this for a video game production. I'm doing this to define myself as an artist, to my own creative expression. And there are mornings where you're like, I don't want to work digitally, so I don't. There are mornings where I don't want to draw traditionally, so I don't. I mean, it helps to have like I said, a project that you can keep consistent, on, whether that's a paid project or personal project like a comic or a novel or whatever, art pieces. So that way you're not just flying off and doing fuck all for, months and months at a time. But yeah, there's times, man, you'll see it like on my Instagram, I just start or whatever on the socials, on all the socials. Like start posting weird shit. Like, what is that? I'm like, I'm just experimenting, This isn't for you. This is for Rob. Like, and it's in that experimentations and just following my creative like intuition where like I come up with some of my best little ideas that I'll then bring back into projects. That can never be done with what they're doing. It just can't. It's all a technical exercise and like theme and resource gathering and materials and you know designing a space that's clear. There's so much 3D modeling that it's because in production on video games, 9 times out of 10 they need people who can model. In video games, um, that's specifically what he's teaching these days. Because in film, none of that shit's really used. Uh, but in video games, if you aren't able to produce tangible assets or production assets, right? Assets that the players can use, if you aren't capable of doing that on some level, then you're sort of seen as useless. Like by I'd say 8 out of 10 game studios. So I don't agree with that philosophy, like at all. One second. I think this shit went out of focus for some dumb reason. Let me fix it. Let me fix it. Ah, of course, it's always something. Even if it's pixel art, like, I've worked on both. I've worked on AAA games and I've worked on indie games. And what I do is not seen as valuable by most game studios. However, when they're like, our shit all looks the fucking same, and we don't have it, it all looks soulless and it's just like content and what have we? Then you need people who can do that. You need artists who can define, looks and but that is the minority experience, my friend. You know? I mean, back when Feng Shu started like at ILM, every artist, every major concept on there, artist on there had their own unique look. Ian McKeag did not look like Dermot Powers. Dermot Powers did not look like Ryan Church. Ryan Church did not look like Feng Shu. You put them together, you get that, Revenge of the Attack of the Clones or Revenge of the Sith kind of fucking look, right? Doug Chain does not look like Ian McKeag. Um, a lot of that sort of thing has gone away in concept art. A lot of it now is about producing lots of options. They just want to see one of fucking everything by Monday. So they don't have to have any like real creative vision. They can just put everything up on a board and then sort of kit bash their way to a game. That's why a lot of games totally fucking lack what I would call soul or any kind of like specific vision. And they all sort of homogenize because they're developed primarily this way. And there's a lot of reasons for that. It's not just because they're being, oh, we're taking the cheap way out. It's the people cutting the checks don't understand art, you know? So, like, they want the thing that appeals to the most people. And let me tell you something. When you go to, I try to explain it like this. Like, if you want something that appeals, think about food. You go to a great Chinese restaurant, you go to a great Italian restaurant, you go to a great Mexican, restaurant or even a food truck, right? Some of the best fucking street food ever comes from food trucks. You go to those are specialized and the food is amazing, right? No other can touch it. But it doesn't appeal to the mass market. The mass market will always go to a buffet. And what is the food quality like at a buffet? It's the lamest. More often than not, a buffet fucking sucks. But it's got one of everything, you know? And if you start looking at your favorite AAA video games, you're gonna, your MMOs and your mobiles, you're gonna see that buffet thing in action, my friend. You know? Nintendo doesn't do that, you know? And I can show you what you really want to do when you're looking at concept art for video games and you look at concept art. If you see a books filled with insanely like fucking rendered images that are beautiful. None of that was done for concept for video games. That's production art that's used for marketing after the fact. Um, but if you open up a concept art, you see a bunch of fucking crazy scribbles and shit like that, and like real loose paintings. Like on Mario Odyssey is a good example, and Breath of the Wild. You see a lot of real Nintendo do they do a lot of loose stuff. That's what actual concept art looks like. So can always sort of tell who's bullshitting you, my friend. And I've worked for Blizzard, I've worked for Activision, and we got an indie game coming out this year, Berserk Boys. So like I've had a little over the last 4 years since 2017, so 5 years now. Over the last 5 years, I've had a real good firsthand experience with this. On top of the previous, you know, uh, you know, 13, 15 years of professional work before that. So it's really just changed my like outlook on stuff like the Feng Shui School of Design. Like I think that, you know, look, people got to eat. They need a job. I get it. But Feng Shui had a specific look, man, when he was on production that got him that name. So teaching of everyone else to be a bunch of little Feng Shuis, I just, you know, like if that's what speaks to you, go with it. But if you feel like you can't get noticed or stood out in the crowd, right? And you're going to be competing against someone who's just technically better than you, I will say this: there's about what 6 billion people on the planet. There's about seven. There's like 5.1 billion that are better technical artists than me. You know, let's say there's a billion artists on the planet, then 900 that million 999,000 are technically better than me. Um, if it comes down to a technical game against someone else to get a gig, I will fucking always lose. But um, if it's about providing something that stands out and sticks in your head, like you're gonna remember that for whatever reason, then I got a pretty good shot, you know. And that's only when I've come to like lean on like my just personal inclination, like how I see things. You're working on Berserk Boy, Final Project. Yeah, I did like a lot of the cutscenes and stuff, like all the key art, you know, all the promo art and the cutscenes and stuff. There's a lot of the cutscenes in the front now though that were by someone else. I don't know. I didn't do those, but yeah, majority of the artwork in the game would be mine, I'd say. And I'll be helping Zoo on the next project from the ground up. He kind of got a hold of me about, you know, a ways into the project, so it is super fun, man. Zoo's been kicking ass on that. Zoo, Kevin are the two primary developer. T Lopes on the music, you know, obviously everything T Lopes does is good. So they're super awesome. But if you look at all the faces in the game, like when they're chatting and shit, that's me. You know, when he powers up, that's me. The promo art, that's all me. Hey,
Yeah,
what's up, Allison?
not much. How you doing?
Just working on this Commish.
Yeah, it
I was,
looks really good. I watched the Shocker Toys thing the other day.
oh, it's awesome, right?
That was great. I love his stuff.
Yeah, 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 it's
Oh,
great.
absolutely love his stuff.
I was, I mean, I didn't know about, I mean, I heard about that in the past, you know. I remember reading
Yeah,
an article about it. I just remember when the toys were announced initially, I was like, oh, that's fucking awesome. Indie fucking toys. That's amazing.
yeah,
And then, like, I think I put them on pre order, but then nothing ever happened. You know what I mean? I just
yep.
figured it just didn't get done. So I was like, all right, you know, whatever.
Yeah, that was my thought process on. I mean, I don't really buy toys, but I thought they were cool, and
It had a
uh,
Kachu figure in that initial line, though, right? From Strangers in Paradise.
they
Like,
did.
I was like, yeah, so I was like, fucking Strangers in Paradise. Like, who,
Yeah,
I gotta pre-order that. You're never gonna find it once it's out. Like,
yeah. No, that one I almost got. I almost put on down for like pre-order and everything, but yeah, nothing
yeah.
ever happened with it. So, well, I guess things kind of did happen with it, but yeah,
And then it was like a couple years ago when I was kind of building my little man cave, you know.
hmm
And I was like, all right, I want some stuff. And I was looking up Scud toys and Max toys, and I came across the Shocker stuff. I was like, why is this shit $300 fucking? Like, what is this? You know?
yeah,
And I just figured they were probably produced at such low quantities. And I was like, well, I'm not paying $300 for a fucking toy.
yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, so I let it go. But it wasn't until I never bothered to look anything up. So it wasn't until Roman's video on Shocker toys, I was like, oh, so that's what happened. And then I was like, this sounds like Dave Halverson. I've worked with the guy like this before. Like I know
Hmm.
this whole mentality that taking pre-orders and then going to cons and like side skirting fucking people you owe is 100% Dave Halverson. Like
Yeah,
that
but
mentality is yeah.
yeah, that's I've seen that mentality on so many people at cons and things like that. So yeah, when I found out about him, it was no surprise.
Mort says, "Do I have any toys in my collection?" I do, but um uh very specific. I don't collect a bunch of shit because I just don't have a lot of room for it.
Hmm.
But I do have like all the Clerks figures, the Clerks animated figures, Wave threes, and including Kevin's figure, which I got Kevin to sign back in like 2005 or something.
Oh, that's awesome.
So like those are my faves. I got the NECA first Turtles movie figures, right?
Hmm.
In the giant VHS looking box. I got that. I got the original NECA 2004 Eastman and Laird figures.
I have those, and I
Yeah.
have the. I think they did an April O'Neil figure.
Yeah, I don't have the April.
Yeah,
I don't
I
have the
have.
Shredder, but I have that one.
I didn't think Shredder came out.
And no, but those prototypes or the bootlegs make their way around. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
that's true.
You can get the bootlegs, but
Yeah, because yeah,
those
they
ones,
also have like the Foot Soldier and the Elite Foot Soldier and all that
yeah.
bootlegs. I don't
I
have
don't
those.
have
I
it.
have the April O'Neil and I have the Turtles.
And then what do I have? I bought all the White Knight McFarlane stuff. I thought that was great. I have
Hmm.
a few animated figures from DC Direct. I have the Miller Batman and the Asbats.
Oh, cool.
A couple of those. The Miller Batman one is super big. I mean,
Yeah,
it's like fucking huge. Super heavy. It's awesome.
I have a
And
Raven
then
figure and a Magic figure, um, and I have a bunch of Star Wars Black figures. That like I have Ray, I have Sabine Wren, I have Jyn Orso, Darth
the only
Maul.
Star Wars I have the Razor Crest from HasLabs.
Mm,
So I didn't have Star Wars toys as a kid, so I mean I did back in like '83. They all went away. I don't have any of those. So I got those. I got the Danger Girl figure still in box,
mm.
including the DC Direct PVC little
Ooh,
Danger Girl figure.
neat.
Not a lot of people have those. Yeah, those
Yeah, I
I
haven't
don't
heard
really
of them.
like those little PVC figures that just sit there doing shit, but they look so much like his art. Plus, there's a few characters in there that McFarlane never made on that wave, so you can get the whole
Mm.
crew. It's a one long box too. It's like super thin and long.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so I got that. Um, what else? Yeah, I got the Ashley Wood Spawn figures.
Oh,
All that
nice.
Salmon Twitch, and I got that McFarlane. Was it the Kickstarter one? The
Mm.
the one he did with the Spawn figure, the Spawn #1 redo.
Yeah.
So I had all the toys back when they first came out, but all my shit was, like I said, my brother stole all my shit when I
What are you
left
money
home.
for?
Uh, so I lost all my high school. The comics I still have from high school, but the toys I don't have anymore. So
No, I didn't really play with toys as a kid. That was more the avenue of my twin and my little sister. I painted, drew, and read, so I had some toys. I mean, I have plenty of stuffed animals, but yeah, I wasn't really into dolls and things. I was into comic books.
yeah, but in high school, like it wasn't about playing with Spawn figures, like with toys. It was
No, no, it
about
was collecting.
yeah, it was well, it wasn't for me. It wasn't collected. It was about having 3D representations of my comic book characters in an
Right.
art style. Like they all look like Capullo or
Yeah,
McFarlane's art. It wasn't
exactly.
if they didn't look like the art, then I would have had a real problem with that. You know?
Hmm. No, I can definitely understand that. I don't really spend my money on that stuff, so.
Oh, I did. Drove my girlfriend nuts. I'd get like $50 from work, and I'd be like, "Well, gonna go pick up that Angelo figure for $12." And she's like, "Woo, woo, woo, woo." And I'm like, "I don't care. You know, get a job." You know, like I don't like it's like, you buy me some? Yeah, I'll buy you a CD, but everything else is mine. Go get a job. Like I'm
Yeah,
not that dude. You
yeah.
know, like
I worked and I didn't
yeah,
ask people for things. So,
yeah. So then she went and got a job, and I never once asked her to buy me fucking shit. Well, that's not entirely true. I did have her help me get a PlayStation
hmm,
several fucking years later. It was like 5 years later or some shit, but it's like
fair enough.
uh,
Hmm.
whatever. But that's because I spent like fucking all my money paying for her car. So
Well,
it's one of
that's
those,
a thing too.
those 18-year-old fucking relationships aren't exactly the most responsible.
No, no, they're not. I can definitely attest to my teen relationships as not being the most responsible things I've ever done in my life.
Right. So, and then to wrap up the toy stuff, the only other stuff that I own is I got the all the Ducktales figures from the 2017 cartoon, including the money. I bought everything,
I would
and
probably buy
then
those if I had the chance. Like if I saw them or something like that, I probably would have bought those because I like Ducktales. So,
those are fantastic. And then I got a few Q figs, which I do recommend. If you like little minifigs, they're way better than Funkos. Like the Q
hmm.
figs are great. So I got the Big Trouble in Little China, the Darkwing Duck, the Rocketeer,
Oh, cool. I definitely
and
would
the
get Darkwing Duck. So,
yeah. Brandon got me the Batman with the Joker head in the
oh,
glass,
sweet.
and that's really good. So, and I got the Weta Ghostbusters figures, which are fucking awesome.
Oh, those look nice. Oh,
Yeah. So let's see here. Oh yeah, and then I got one statue, and it's the Nightfall statue from Prime One Studios.
hmm.
It's not cheap, Allison.
I believe that. I believe that
And it's the
completely.
greatest fucking thing I own. I fucking love it. Like I remember when I first saw it years and years ago. I was like, I can't afford that. And I had a little bit of spending money when I was at Toys for Bob, and I told my wife I'm pre-ordering that. She's like, "You're out your fucking mind. What are you?" I'm like, "No, I'm doing it. I don't care." You know,
I'm giving it.
I've
You're
been looking
giving
at
it.
this for like a year, year and a half when they first announced it. I'm like, every time it's the suit that like, especially the way they designed it. I'm like, that's where Zack Snyder should have done. He should
Yeah.
have stayed away from the Dark Knight Returns if he wasn't going to do an adaptation, just giving Affleck that Nightfall armor. Like that
Yeah.
shit. The way Prime One Studio rendered it, it's so fucking good. Like it's so
Mm,
good. It's blue, it's gold, it's colorful.
that definitely
I got
works.
I got color lights, those little mini lights I put around and light it the whole fucking thing up from the behind and the back. It's
Oh, nice.
yeah, I'll get it all set up and send you some photos sometime.
I would
You'll,
love to
you'll be
see
like,
that.
yeah, it's super fucking nerdy. Like, you know.
Yeah, I would love to see that. That'd be cool.
And I got
Um,
some fluorescent space carpeting from arcade carpeting. I got the real
nice.
stuff. Like I
The
put on the
cool
floor.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
like the stuff that lights up different with a black light. So yeah,
Yeah, that stuff. Yeah. And I got a black light. Yeah.
fantastic.
So there you go. That's what I got. What does he say? Vusi says, I also have my very own comic, but I'm struggling to produce it. How go on and how to go on in finding assistance? How to produce your
Mm,
comic? Well, I mean, you can always just draw it and then send samples with a one pager to Image to see if they'll publish. That's what I always recommend.
getting published by Image is a pain in the ass if you don't have a name. Um,
If you have talent, you can get published by Image. Like,
you can.
when I
It's
say
just
talent, I mean market recognizable talent. Yeah, it's that
yes,
hard
yeah,
to get. Yes, it's hard to get.
yeah.
Otherwise, the only other option there really is for you, if you wanted to physically produce a comic, is to go through Kickstarter.
I mean, you could try submitting to groups like Alterna or Scout, um, but yeah, you're better off doing if this is your first thing. You're better off doing a Kickstarter for yourself.
Yeah.
Um, I mean,
Actually, if you're on your own and you've never done anything, you're better off just sticking to webtoons until you get
that's
the
true
whole thing
too.
done. I would never do a Kickstarter for something that isn't complete. That's my advice to you.
Oh yeah, no. Make sure you're done with whatever you're gonna do when you kickstart it. So
And if it doesn't go through, it's fine. It doesn't go through, man.
right.
Like rejection's part of the game.
You also have
I've
to
been
advertise the shit out of it. Like if you're doing a Kickstarter or something like that, you have to go on like every comic show to basically, promote your crap.
And this is where I'm really lucky in my life because like with image, I'd never had a problem getting the approval. You know,
Well,
like
no, because
I've
you're
had
hard.
Eric Larson has been giving me the thumbs up since 2005. So it's like I'm super fortunate in that way. You know, like so I try not to say, well, that's just normal for everyone because it's not. You know,
No,
um, same with like Kickstarters. Like I don't know, I just put it up and it works. But like that being said, that's not the norm. You
no.
know, like
Also, your art style is very different and eye-catching.
were you
So,
here for the Feng Shui conversation?
somewhat, what was it? I didn't notice you started streaming, and I was like, I was playing Street Fighter Five, and I
No,
just
no,
got my
yeah,
ass.
I'm never gonna, never, yeah, never gonna knock that. I'm
Yeah.
still a bigger fan of the 2D Street Fighters, but I do like Street Fighter 5.
I
So,
love Street Fighter Five, but yeah,
so the conversation was about Feng Shui's School of Design, right? The school that they have, right?
yeah,
And I was uh, commenting that, like, if you're getting into production for like mobile or MMO video games, then I think that's an excellent course to take. However, in terms of becoming an artist with an identity, uh, that is the wrong avenue to go. Like
yeah,
every one of them artists looks 1,000% the same. You know,
yeah.
like there's just no difference.
Well, if I
And
was
so
trying
like
to finish,
I feel that when it comes down to that sort of game, you're competing on a technical level, you
hmm,
know?
yes,
And like
absolutely right.
if you already aren't an artist with amazing talent, they're not going to make you an amazing talent. He's going to teach you how to 3D model. You know what I mean? Do a lot of 3D modeling and material gathering and calling out material sheets,
Yeah,
but that's not going to make you a better illustrator. So if you're looking to draw more, that is kind of the opposite direction, you know. So,
if you're interested
however,
in doing comics, Willis Potasio does a boot camp thing with a bunch of other artists. I would highly recommend that.
except for Willis is a fucking genius illustrator. Like, it was tough with getting advice from guys at that level. Is that there is like if you look at Willis's work, even like an 89, 90, right? Like
Yeah.
he was already better than Jim and all them. Like
Oh
he's
god, yeah.
just like he had a real illustrative, illustrative. I don't know what the word is. There's an elegance to how he draws that I don't think that's something you teach.
No,
You
no, it's
know,
not. He
Be- I'll prove it because anyone that ever took over Wetworks that tried to emulate him never got close.
no way.
Wetworks for me creatively only worked when they went in a different direction than Willis, unless Willis was doing it. Like even Pat Lee when he came on, because I know like they struggled with sales when like Jason Johnson was on the book and Pete Woods, that cartoony look. But I was like, it definitely. I thought it looked great. It's just the Americans and their fucking cartoons.
Yeah.
They don't take it serious. But when Pat Lee came on to pretend to be Willis Portasio, well, I'm not knocking Pat Lee. I love Pat Lee's work.
That
That's a
is
Jim
good
call.
work, but he's not Willis
And
Potasio.
and
Potasio.
Willis wasn't producing work at the time too. So what are you
Right.
supposed to do? I feel like it's just something that wasn't as opposed to when you go to Top Cow, you can get a lot of Silvestri esque art out of there. You know what I mean? From a lot
Hmm.
of those guys, like it was something that you could emulate. No
Yeah.
one's emulating Willis. Like just
No.
it's difficult. Name one person who's ever looked like him.
No. You can't
you know,
really. I mean, he's no. It
I
just
and
doesn't.
I had to deal with this at IDW when I was initially the main cover artist on the series called First Strike, which was a Transformers team up that Max Dunbar was drawing the series, and they wanted me to do. I was like, just let Max do the covers. He's like, well, he's going to do the covers, and you're going to do the cover. I'm like, well, all right, whatever. Um, which I think was just them trying to get a feel for me working on another series. I was like, all right, and then like right before the series launched, like, oh, we're getting Willis to do the main covers,
Yeah.
and I was like, well, then nothing I'm gonna do is going to work. Like, if
No.
Willis is on the main covers, like, by the way, the book Willis's work is amazing. The book don't look like Willis's. I'm like, that seems to be more like a variant.
Yeah. I
It's
would have done
weird.
that as a variant, but yeah, that's me.
Yeah, well, that the guy who made that call is no longer there. So,
That doesn't surprise.
um, yeah, well, he was a friend of mine. you know.
Still,
But we had a falling out over this. Like we just creatively haven't worked together since. But I was running into this problem recently. I saw a cover to this book. I think it's like Earth Prime 2 or something over at DC. It was a Superman and Lois cover. It was animated. I think Kim, can't remember his last name, Kim
yeah,
Jujitsu or whatever did the cover. It was a great looking animated cover. I was like, oh, that looks great. I'm like, and then, but Tom Grummett does the interiors. I'm
yeah, it
like
doesn't work.
that is such a colossal fucking step away from that art. Like, it's not even,
Yeah,
I
it's not
mean,
even close.
I don't understand this, Allison. How do comics now do these covers that don't even remotely reflect what's inside? I get a variant. I get the variants, but when the main cover is like cartoony and the interior is like 1998's fucking DC jobber guy, I don't understand.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
the thought process behind this, you know?
Well, I know covers are such a big deal. They're a bigger deal in the industry right now than they are with the interiors. Like,
Yeah, that's why I got away from cover work because I was
yeah,
like, I just don't agree with any of this.
I don't
Like
either.
my side gig was cover work, and I was like, no, like the mentality is just it's just odd. Hey, what's up, Joe? Any childhood shows that kind of inspires your art currently in some way? Childhood shows that inspire my art in some way currently? I don't know, man. Childhood shows.
Maybe Ninja Turtles in some ways, but even then, I would
No,
say no.
no, not the card. No, not really. Man, maybe Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah, I could see that. Even
You
then,
know?
that's a stretch.
Yeah.
No, I see more Calvin and Hobbes in you. So right now,
Yeah, probably Bill Waters and my art exists somewhere between comics and 90s comics and comic strips. It's somewhere between there. Depends on what I'm doing. Yeah. But
yeah,
the cartoons, I watched them for the intros, and then I would kind of like just stop paying attention and go and draw or play with toys, or why I'd leave them on, but I wouldn't,
yeah.
sit there staring at them.
Well, the
So
intros are always cooler.
yeah, especially Turtles, which Peter
Oh
Chung
God, yeah,
did
the
a lot
Peter
of that
Chung
work.
intro.
Yeah.
Was it the Thundercats intro was amazing.
Well, the Thundercats but see that was primarily done by a lot of people who ended up being picked up by Studio Ghibli.
Yep.
So like there you go, talent. I mean, it's like Studio Ghibli puts a master class how to make a movie. It's like that's not going to teach you how you can get an insight to how they did it. I don't know how much you can take away from it. You
Right.
know?
Yeah.
I
No,
mean, I
it's
look,
yeah.
yeah, but
Just no.
cartoons, I don't see a lot of it.
No, and then again, when I point out Thundercats, but Silverhawks, Thundercats in space, same studio.
Yeah, but I couldn't name one character. Oh yeah, the openings, but I couldn't name
Yeah, the
one
opening. I
character in
can't name any of the
Thundercat.
characters, but the opening's
Hmm.
awesome.
All right, Silverhawks. I couldn't name one Silverhawks character. Cool toys.
Yeah, I can name the bird because that was Tallyhawk and it said right in the beginning of the intro. Other than that, I got nothing. The intro's awesome though.
But that was around the time of like the Visionaries and stuff, where the GoBots and the Rock Lords and 80s cartoons were
Um,
kind of on a downhill trend by then.
yeah,
They were on a slide a little bit. So
yeah. Whistler. That's right. That was one of them. I remember
Whistler.
which one. Was that the
Yeah,
guy with
Joe will
the
remember.
music?
Yeah, Joe's my buddy from a long time friend. He used to be my roommate.
Oh,
So
cool.
Joe's good. Yeah. I used to have an apartment called the Sketchpad.
I like that.
Yeah. I know it's stupid, but
Yep, but I like it.
used to get like 160 degrees in that fucking place. It was
Well,
all
that's
made out of wood.
way too much.
So, oh yeah, yeah. I used to during the summers we didn't have AC, so like um I used to have to like every 30 minutes I'd jump in the shower for like 5 minutes and cool down and then dry off and come back and work for like 30 minutes to an hour.
Yeah, I couldn't. Yep, I definitely couldn't live in a place like that, especially now.
Rent was cheap though.
Yeah, respect that.
Rent was cheap.
There's a lot of exceptions I'll make for cheap rent.
And I did. But as soon as I got like the girlfriend that I really respected, she was like, "We're not no," so I had to stop. Okay.
Oh. So this is the Jerk Comics guy's original character,
Uncle Jerk. Yes.
Uncle Jerk. All right.
And you know me, I have a rule. I don't draw OCs,
No, you don't.
but I really like Roman's podcast a lot. His Kelly Jones interview is fantastic.
That
His
was so good.
Sam Keith documentaries
They
fantastic.
were
The guy
great.
puts a lot of work into his
Yeah.
stuff, and he's super humble. And you know, it was when I was working on the turtle stuff. He just saw it and was like, "Dude, this is amazing! Like, how much for a commission?" And you know, I would told him, I'm like, "Bro, I got you covered. Don't even worry about it. If you want to send me some, whatever, fine. But like, I guarantee you, like, I'm gonna hook something up for you." So, because I really appreciate the podcast.
Yeah, I can respect that. Oh.
Then I ran into a problem like, how do I draw this character? Like, I'm at a point now where I don't like just applying a style to a character. Like my mentality going in now isn't like, well, here's a pose, I drew it. Um, Trying to move away from that actually. Like, so it was like finding the personality and his OC. There is no personality because there's no story.
Right.
It's a representation of the podcast. So I was just like, all right, then what are the three most important things I could think of when it comes to the podcast? One would be his character, but two, which I started thinking more of like a crypt keeper type character, right?
Yeah.
Like the host, right?
Mhm.
And then the whole 368, which I traced over digitally, so that's still my lines over Keith's work. I just
Right.
printed out because I'm not drawing. That thing's fucking an inch tall.
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
which is the comic that Roman first learned how to read. So it's a big issue in his life. And
Oh, that's
Kelly
cool.
Jones did a lot of work on that too. You should listen to that Kelly Jones interview.
I'll have to
And
check that out.
then the Shocker Toys thing, which Scud was a big deal in his life, and then the
Yeah, I didn't
Max.
get the
So
marks.
I almost drew a Max, but I always had an idea for like Max isn't very expressive. You know, it's like somber. And I was like,
Yeah.
well, I want people to have a good time, so I decided to give his character the Max feet, right, like a big
Yeah.
feet, which hadn't been done in some of the other renderings. And then I thought with the is, I always thought it'd be fun to have a max colored is. I don't know why they never did a max is.
Yeah.
Like
That's kind of weird.
the evil twin, you know?
Yeah.
Like the one is who's like the max is, so it'll be a max is. So
That's a
it's
cool
always
idea.
been always one of those in my head. It's like, why don't they just do the max? But no, whatever. And then the other thing I thought was funny was when he speaks, little bones and come out like because he's a skeleton and like a mummy. So like
Oh,
flies and bones pop out of his
that's a
mouth when
cool
he
idea.
talks. You know. So
I like that. Oh, yeah. I always thought the is was a really cool kind of design. It's so simple and expressive, and they're just fun. And I
yeah, any
like
of
that
those
the
kind of
maps.
like critters, gremlin style characters, always make
Yeah,
good villains. You know.
I keep trying to get a
Yeah.
sepia, some of the sepia Copics, and I can't find them anywhere.
Sepia Copics.
Yeah,
I moved away from Copic markers. I don't like the lack of availability. Told you,
the
I just split.
multi-liners is what I wanted. Basically, what you're using right now, but
Oh, these are red wine. These are wine.
I've read. Oh, I can
Yeah.
barely find those either. So,
Dick Blick.
how's
Although I did buy all of them, so I may have cut you out of the
oh,
market.
I see how it is.
I
Fine.
spent the last month. I got some Berserk Boy money, and I went and bought like the remaining stock, whatever they had. So if they're out of stock right now on these
Careful.
wines over at Dick Blick, that's because I literally have 50 of them sitting right here of each. Yeah, sorry, that's actually my bad.
I see. I see. They were looking
Yeah,
like last month. Then I'm like, they're sold out. Son of a bitch.
yeah, that's because I literally bought them all. And then
Yes,
what's
I.
funny is they sent me the wrong ones, so they gave me a refund and then gave me 50 of the ones I wanted. And so like actually got 50 of them for free. So
hate you.
yeah. Yeah, sometimes fortune favors the fast, right? Like I got a little lucky on that one. So sorry.
I'll live.
They'll show back up in about 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, that sounds
So
about right.
if you can't, but do you use a pen quill? Like the reason why I bring it up is this is just a faster version of my previous technique, which you can it's totally affordable to do if you're using like
Oh,
pen dip.
yeah, I have a G pen and everything, and I have plenty
Okay,
of
then
I have.
this will work for you in the exact same manner. It's
Okay,
this stuff. Sienna, Rohrer, and Klingner. Burnt Sienna.
from Sienna.
This will give you the exact same wine with sepia look to it.
Oh,
There's
cool.
no difference. No difference.
Well, that'll
So
work.
I just yeah. So like all my watercolor pieces have this. Earlier ones and like the thing is I just don't enjoy fucking drawing with that shit. So um, this is just faster, right? So
Yeah, that's one of the
but
reasons I want to go with the Copic multiliners because they're faster.
right, but that does work. So in the meantime, if you're looking for that sort of like not quite black when you're working, so you can still go to black and have that sepia underlook, that will 100% get you there. So,
Oh, that'll work. I'll just do that. Not for now until they restock. Actually, it looks like they restocked.
oh, see, don't talk shit then.
Well, let's
So
see. Let's see how it is. I'll have to wait till Wednesday when I get money, or when my taxes come in. I was thinking about because I get a pretty big return considering I'm disabled. That I thinking about getting an arcade stick. So,
I have one of those real ones, those real arcade parts. I had it built with Infinity Gem looking
mhm.
fucking. Because my favorite fan game to play is well, not fan game, but my favorite arcade fighter is probably Marvel Superheroes.
I love that game. I like that. And I love Marvel
Yeah,
vs. Capcom too.
yeah, I'm more of a superheroes guy. I just think the theme of superheroes is better. Like getting the Infinity Gems. Like
Oh yeah,
it was the first time I came in contact with that concept, and it just I thought for a video game like made the most sense. And they used a lot of Joe Mad. I got the poster, the original Joe Mad poster he drew
yeah,
for
the
that
Mad
on
poster
the
that they
wall.
use for the cover and everything. Yeah,
I got the actual one right there.
that's
So, because I'm a nerd. So, like,
it's okay.
got a lot of
People
vintage
watching
posters.
this and me, we're all nerds here. It's good.
Yeah.
It's all good. Yeah, that'll be fun. The other thing I have to do is when I get the tax return money is I need new clothes because I've lost 3 pant sizes.
No, it'll happen. Let's see. Come on.
Been trying not to zoom in that much when I'm drawing digitally. Like try not to go over like 25% in because you lower the
Um,
detail.
yeah, it depends. What DPI are you working at?
600.
Yeah, you can go down to 400, and
Yeah.
then you don't need more than that. And then work at I would say between 50 and 100%. You'll be
Yeah.
fine.
The only reason I'm working at 600 is because when I was doing some work with DC, they basically were like, "Yep, you need all digital work sent in at 600 DPI."
All right, so then just upres it and unsharp mask.
Yeah, that's true. I
So
can do that. So
it looks no different. Like
that's true. It's not like
it
anything
really,
prints better than 300 anyway. So
yeah. They just have. I get why they say that. I get what they're saying, but
it's a memory
it's
hog.
ridiculous.
Yeah, but yeah,
It's
no,
pushed a
going
lot of
to
people to use the vector settings, on like Clip Studio Paint, so they don't have to worry about it. And then now everyone has a similar fucking weird vector Clip Studio Paint fucking look to their work,
yep, they do.
and I just reject it. So again, work at
Oh, this
400. When you're done, upscale to 6, and then just
upscale to
unsharp
6 on
mask
sharpen. Yeah,
3 or 4 times, yeah, and then
and
it'll
that
look
will do.
about the same.
That's true.
Yeah. They'll be like, well, it's not quite as clear. You know what? That noise will look better. Add a 2% noise to it. Like go to noise, add like go to the noise on the when
Oh
it's
yeah,
flattened. Go to noise monochromatic, and then set it to 2, and then it'll be no different than if you had scanned in inks. I built a
yep,
wall mount arcade cap with Sandwich parts. Yeah, Marvel Superheroes. Yeah, that's awesome.
that's cool. I like that. When I had a much bigger apartment, I was thinking about, and when I could stand for long durations, I was thinking about building my own arcade cabinet and putting a little retro box in it and be like, I can play 10,000 video games.
Yeah, I have a mini seat, and so I have it hooked up to my Bravia. I have a 65-inch Bravia, and
Oh, that's
so
nice.
I got my retro PC all hooked up to that, and so I have like a mini seat with the table, and I just put it forward, and it's like sitting on a mini stool at an arcade. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. So
That'd be
with the
cool.
Sanwa parts, I use the mini stick. I don't use that long fucking Mortal Kombat stick. I got the mini knob.
Hmm.
So um, feels just like playing at an arcade in front of the giantest screen of all time. Like I
Yeah.
just OD on like uh, colors and what is it? When you get like, because you're sitting so close, you're like this is the way it was meant to be played. So
Hmm. Yeah, I can agree with that. Hmm. I'm actually setting a preset so I can have everything just set to preset I can select just for 400 DPI. That is much easier for that. There'll be less on the system as well. So,
yeah, how did they print comics before? I mean, how do you think they got all that done? You think they were using 600 DPI before the computers could handle it?
oh hell
No,
no.
this is ridiculous. And somehow it got done, right? How did it get done?
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know, and you go, well, no one was drawn digitally. Brian Bowen was drawn digitally, been drawn
Yep.
digitally since '89. So like, it's like I love comics kayfabe, right?
Oh god, yeah.
But it's like you guys do know that the majority of the art. I think they were the other day like, I guess this Brian Bowen stuff's supposed to be digital. I don't know how. I'm like, yeah, it's digital. He's drawn with a mouse on a lot of those fucking pieces.
Yep. He did mouse
So
and yeah, mouse and keyboard stuff.
yeah, on like one of those
Uh,
apples, the little fucking monochromatic, or not the monochromatic, but the apples, fucking
yep. What was
whatever.
it? Was it Mark Burnett or something like that? He does. He used to work for Blizzard or something. He runs his own art courses and stuff, and has a YouTube channel where he promotes his art tutorials and things. And he often says how he started drawing digitally was mouse and keyboard stuff with Photoshop.
Yeah, I hated it, so I stopped. I was like, I'll come
Same.
back to it when there's a screen you can draw on. But I used it for coloring, right? So I at least had a
Oh,
Wacom pen for coloring. But
yep, I had that too. I absolutely hated drawing though until I had a screen.
but for composition, it was worth owning either way because you could always. I was like, I don't want to redraw, so I would just go in there and cut some stuff out, rescale, size it back up, and then I had to go down to Kinko's and do like an 11 by 17 print or something, to
Hmm.
like trace on a Bristol or something, but it would work.
Yep.
Or you could print out your own once I got a printer and then just tape it together and then light board it.
Yep. I did stuff like that too. So.
Which I still have to do for like watercolors and stuff. Like I still have these days I use my little AR. There's this app you can get like where you can like look at you can put an image and look at your phone, and then you put your hand down. You can kind of like size. It's like using projection, but you use your
Oh, that's kind
phone
of cool.
without projecting. You end up with a wobbly drawing, but who cares? So um,
Yeah.
short of having a giant projector, you can do that. I just what I do is, those little grid cages for like
Hmm.
craft storage,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So like I get one and I build the top and the sides, right? And then I put the art underneath, right? And then I just put the phone on top of the cage, and then I set
Hmm.
it to scale it to there and lock it, and then just put my hand
That
under,
works.
and then so you can zoom in on the phone, right?
Yeah.
And it always keeps that scaling down. You can
Uh,
transfer any image to a comic. That's how I was transferring all my stuff to comic book covers and stuff. Like if you look at the Obi-Wan and the Wolverine sketch
hmm.
covers I did like 3 or 4 years ago, like that's how I did all that.
That makes sense. You just, yeah, you would have done that. Yeah, you just go and you just trace over it because drawing on those things sucks. So, well, the older ones really sucked.
Yeah, but the older ones are the glossy ones are great for color pencil.
That's true.
It has the same marker paper slickness, which is not good for marker paper.
Mm.
Marker paper generally is not good for markers. It's weird, but
Yeah,
um,
I never quite understood that. But yeah,
but in terms of like just scaling the art, like that's how I would do them at conventions. So I could sketch digitally and then go to my room and then sit there and transfer them all to people's sketch covers and then just color them
Hmm.
all in one go.
Yeah, I do. Was it one of the things that I did with for convention stuff is I made a whole bunch of pre-made poses. I light boxed
That
them for the
There's
characters.
nothing wrong with that. I don't I recommend keeping a stock of your own poses together
Yeah.
because even like Mark Bagley, like I watched him work because we were sitting next together at a con once for like 3 days, and he just has in his own head about 5 or 6 poses, and he'll go to his room and just boop 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 knock them all out. Like it doesn't really
Right.
matter. In fact, a lot of people want iconic shit that they kind of know.
Yeah.
So nothing wrong with that. Um,
Oh yeah. I mean, it's like I got my generic Spider-Man poses done. I have male and female versions. Somebody wants like Silk or Spider Gwen or whatever else, and I just have the generic pose drawn. Then I light box it and draw the character for them. It's like you want that. I got the Superman flying by thing. I got the Batman lurking. So yeah.
I don't give people choices.
Well, if they
Let
ask
me go
for a
for.
character, I just pick the one that's
Oh,
appropriate.
right. I don't let them pick a pose though, like a tattoo.
Oh no, no, no. They if somebody buys a full body pose or whatever, they get one of the generic ones I have done. I don't have time for that shit. So, and now I don't have the energy for that shit. So I might redo this entire panel.
They're not paying you to not draw. Remember
Yeah,
that, Allison.
exactly,
They pay you to draw, not to erase.
exactly. So the more I can draw, the more money I make. So, at least that's the theory. But yeah, I literally have a binder of that has a few sheets in it that just have poses, you know, backed into it, and I just pulled them out and go to town. I drew them all on digitally, printed them out on cardstock, so I have them and pop them under and light box them. Done. Oh man, that is looking fun though.
Yeah, I'll be happy to get it done. I just want to get it out my
No,
hair. I got a bunch of other fucking shit to do right now. It's like,
looks like Nickel wants wall cab pick. Oh yeah, your wall cabinet pick.
So, uh, yeah, I'm not taking on any work right now. So,
Well, no, I think he wants a picture of your arcade.
oh, yeah, I don't have an arcade. Well, I mean, I have that TV. I have the turtle. I could, yeah, maybe I'll send it. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see, folks. The minute you show people what you got, then they show up to your house and try to rob you. So,
That's true. Just
you know, we'll see, folks.
been trying to. Been playing so much Street Fighter lately. I've been trying to like. I've noticed that with a lot of my posing and art that I've been going much more for Street Fighter style fighting poses.
Old Bingus.
Hmm?
Good old Bingus.
Yep.
Oh, okay, cool. Thanks, Nick.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. I misinterpreted. I also gave the lead character of this thing a spawn like cape because I wanted to draw the crazy ass long cape. YouTube center the URL. Oh yeah, you need generally you need like mod rights to post a URL into a
Yeah, just
chat.
send me a note, Nick, on follow me on Twitter or Instagram or something. You can just send me a message there. I'll get it. You know, Sketchcraft.
Yeah.
Don't worry if you can't see it here. I'll be happy to check it out. Always cool to see people's cool fucking collections.
People setups.
Yeah. The rooms we always wanted when we were kids. That's
Yeah,
what I
basically.
have. I have the room I wanted it. Like it's a lot of it. I was able to rebuild the stuff I lost when I was a teenager that I cared about, which was mostly posters and stuff. So, and I got the actual ones. It wasn't easy to track down some of that stuff from the '90s. Like, but I did it before COVID hit. So, and the great collector fucking purge of the internet. You know.
Mm. Yep.
So, I don't think I'd be able to find half of what I got now if I had tried to start after COVID. Just because for some reason collectors were just like, oh, we're gonna go buy every fucking thing now because we can't go anywhere. So it's like, all right, thanks for nothing. So
I still have to get a I want to get a full size Lost Boys poster at some point. I love that poster.
the hardest part for me was just finding like, um, there was two that were really hard, but like finding completely intact like posters that were only released at Comic Con. Like there was a Youngblood Year One poster that
Hmm.
Liefeld was doing with Kurt Busiek or whatever, and he had released this poster at Comic Con '95 or '94, I can't remember. And I had it and I loved it. I thought it was a great fucking poster. And that got destroyed. Finding that was a fucking that's not easy to find.
No,
So um those you had to be at a convention in '95, you know, and then you had to keep it secure. It just it stuff like that didn't survive a lot of the purges, you know. So
no.
uh, that was a hard one. And then um, there's a few Spawn ones like the one Capullo drew from '94 was hard to find. And then I
Mm.
got the Spawn Angela one solo ones that it's the Jim Lee Angela actually. It's the one he did.
Oh, those ones. Those are cool.
Yeah. And I had all of them, but they were all destroyed. So like
I have
not my doing, but
yeah,
it
I
happened.
have the Stephen Platt Prophet one with all the bullet casings going everywhere and stuff. That Wizards did it as a cover.
I have that. I have the Wizard promo version of that too. I went
Yep,
and bought the
that's the
promo
one I
ad.
have.
I have the one in the magazine plus the promo ad, and then
Yep.
I got his Prophet Issue 5 cover sign poster.
Oh, cool.
Finding the Blood Pool poster was tough. Pat Lee's Blood Pool. I don't know if
Hmm.
people remember that. And then that was not an easy one. And then what else? Oh, I got a 1993 the Casada Nightfall poster. It's when he's on the ledge in the full prime outfit. It is
Hmm.
not, and that was sealed. So I was like
Oh,
taking it
nice.
out the yeah, taking it out the first. It's covered in gunk from 1993. It was crazy the outside, but because it was in the plastic, you know.
Yeah.
But I got that behind my Nightfall statue, so
Oh,
I
cool.
have my actual issues of sort of Azrael and Batman, whatever 450 or whatever it was when
Yeah.
you know. I got
The
those on the
Brody.
wall, and then I got that behind it. So when it's all illuminated, it's just the full Nightfall
Oh, that's awesome.
experience. Yeah.
I have was it like the gold version of I don't know, it was Batman 500 or something like that. That's signed by Casada, and it has the the flip cover where it has him, Batman. Then you
Yeah,
have
that's the one
the
I'm talking about, the
yeah,
500. I don't remember the numbers.
yeah. I have that signed by Casada and stuff.
Did you buy that off QVC? Because it was hard. Casada doesn't go to conventions, so
My dad bought it for me off QVC, but yes,
yeah, that had to be a QVC purchase. Because anytime I go to a convention, Palmiotti would be there, Jimmy, and then
right,
I'd be like, "Is he's like he doesn't go to conventions," so like, and that was true. He was
yeah,
never at even for Ash. I'm like, it's your comic, and I would sit there and tell him like, it's your own comic. You have to be here. Like I was 15, yeah, practically yelling. I still have my. I bought Ash. It was at San Diego Comic Con '94 or whatever. Palmiotti was there to sign up. I'm like, you can't have a creator-owned comic and not go on the road and sell this fucking thing. You know?
right. Especially not in 1994. So
Yeah. See, here it is. Sign.
yeah,
That's the one.
you got Jimmy down there.
But no.
No Q.
No Casada because and I'm like, and that's one of the many reasons why your comic didn't go nowhere. I'm like,
Yeah,
you know,
I love
and
Dash.
it was a great idea. The story was incomprehensible. The
Yeah,
premise is fantastic, and it's a shame they sold it to DreamWorks because it's the one character that should be in the MCU. I'm like, I'm not for conglomerating characters, but given how long Casada's been there, I really wish he had held on to that to sell it because a firefighter superhero like Shazam thing is a great
yeah,
idea, you know?
that would have worked very well.
Yeah. But the story is unfucking readable. I couldn't tell you what the fuck's going on.
I don't know what the hell happened with it. I know the first couple of issues kind of made sense, and then it derails from there. So
Kind of made sense. I still don't know what happened in those first. I'm just, people are in danger. Ash saves them, but I couldn't fucking tell you who the masquerade dude is. I don't fucking know.
I know he
Um,
had like Gabriel in it or something at one point, and then he had that weird
Angel,
like
weird angel.
Fallout Future issue with the Zero, which had a badass cover, but made no fucking sense whatsoever. The art was great.
I always just bought it for the art.
That's all I bought them for. But yeah, that's why I love them. Then again, I generally buy comics first for the art.
I don't know anymore. Like now, it's got to be like a combo for me. This is why like most of the time. So I'm buying, Savage Dragon. I just keep buying. I always buy a Savage Dragon, but like
I can respect
you
that.
know,
It's Eric
I
Larson.
I got yeah, I got the Gunslinger Spawn stuff because Brett stuff's great. The story's cool.
Mhm.
It's a little weird, but it's cool. And then, um, but like mostly it's when something comes along. Like in manga, manga goes on for so long that I have a rule now. I own. I don't own all of them because they aren't out yet, but I have the last three pre-orders, so I have all the hardcovers for Full Metal Alchemist, right?
Hmm.
and that's going to be a when it's complete, it's a 18 volume set.
Yeah.
So like I don't have time for that with every manga. So I have a rule. The first 4 volumes I'll collect physically. After that, it's digital purchases. Like I'm not storing more than 4 volumes of physical fucking manga. So Delicious in Dungeon is the last major series that I really enjoyed.
The only one that I have like all the entire hardcover collection for is Battle Angel.
That's cool.
Um,
I have the original. I like the original newsprint editions. So I like
yeah,
same
I got
with
that.
yeah, same with like Appleseed. Like I prefer the Eclipse Comics releases of those. The original.
Oh yeah.
Right there.
Yep,
See,
those ones.
yeah,
I have those.
versus the any of the reprints. So I like the newsprint.
Oh yeah, I
It's
completely
weird in those
agree with
comics is they used to print your fucking address when you sent in a fucking
you. Yeah, they did.
yeah. Yeah, in the letters column, they wouldn't just print your reply; they'd print your address, your home address. Like, what? Why? Why did you do that? Like,
It made no sense. But yeah, doxing wasn't the same thing it is today.
I don't know, man. My uncles were all nervous about people knowing where they lived back in the '80s for some whatever reason. They were crazy, but they were definitely one of those. I pay to be unlisted. I'm like, all right, no one's looking for you. But like, you didn't even have a job. I'm like, whatever. Whoever you're dodging, like you probably owe
I
someone
come from
money.
a family of cops, and all of them were very much into privacy, of not knowing where you live and stuff like that.
Yeah, they were all no, they were from a family of law enforcement. My uncles were not in law enforcement. They just were They were like, who they were like. My two uncles. The one I talk about, the one that was in the radio shows, and the other one who was this guy who was deemed crazy by the Navy. Like he actually did, we had to go to a mental asylum. He had like a teddy bear once. It was crazy. They
Oh
were
god.
exactly like you ever seen the movie? You seen the movie War Games?
Yeah.
So you remember when they go to MIT and there's that character Malvin and then the other
Yep.
guy? I
Oh
can't
yeah.
remember the guy James or whatever his name is. It was the fat dude in Malvin. The
Yes.
fat dude's my uncle from the radio show, and Malvin is my crazy other uncle. They were like, I mean, even when that movie came out, he's like, it's us, ha 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 ha. And I'm like, I don't know. Even as like a 4-year-old kid, I was like, I don't know if you're supposed to be proud of that. Like,
No, no, you're not. No.
But that's exactly, that you pretty much assume they're gonna murder one another at some point. You know?
Yep.
Yeah.
I went to MIT. I knew people like that. So,
You're showing them all our tricks.
the there was this one guy when I was MIT. Now he was a I don't know. He wasn't a student. He was definitely part of some research team or something like that. And I was getting ready to cross the street to head over some classes, and he was staring at the lights and watching them change. He's like, "That's so interesting how they change." And I was like, "Right then,
Yeah, it's like Laszlo from Real Genius, right?
yeah." And there was this other guy who they had to keep clothes for him at MIT because he'd ride his bike in naked. Some genius physicist.
Sure. The smartest dude I ever met was one of those guys who was like so smart by Mensa, he just didn't do anything with it.
Yeah.
Like he was originally a motorbike like motorcycle motocross like kid, and then
Mhm.
he uh he lost like part of his leg to that, and so he was doing security for my dad. But he was a legitimate certified genius. Like, and when you talk to him, you're like, oh, this is what talking to smart people's like. There's a level of craziness, right? But they're clearly not of this earth. Like they're not like people. Are, Rob, you're smart. No, I'm clever. This is a fucking genius.
I've been accused
And
of being a genius. I'm not in that caliber. So
no, no, no. And I'm gonna tell like I rarely come across these. My buddy who's a he went to Harvard. He's a biochemist. He's not like this. Like none of his friends when they would be in college and you'd come across real like smart people. They weren't like this guy was one of those dudes, like
yeah.
and he's one of those guys that would just always like have some weird quirk, like he had to eat peanuts because of the oils would go to your brain or some shit like that, and just he'd have all this really odd advice. But then like I don't know, he's just in his own world, man. Like some people,
Yep.
like it's almost a curse. Like there's nothing he could, because if you're working for my father, you're definitely on the downhill slide, like of life. I've been there. It's not a place you want to be. So, but that's when I learned that just because you're born smart doesn't mean you're guaranteed a positive outcome.
No.
Like a lot of these people kind of self-destruct for whatever reason.
Well, it's the world doesn't understand them, and they don't understand the world in a lot of ways. When you get people that smart, they're literally on a different level. So it's like that guy who is just fascinated by the changing of the crosswalk lights.
Right. It's almost like a meth addict in a way.
Yeah, it just
Start digging a hole. Like they'll just start digging a hole.
and the guy who would literally ride his bike to work naked. That was scary,
Yeah.
especially
Um,
when you're like an 18-year-old girl. So
yeah. But so I mean, I don't
luckily,
know.
me
I
was
don't know
going
what
to the
happened to
wrong
that dude.
school.
I don't know what happened to that guy. But
uh,
so if you add this orange, pumpkin orange
mhm.
Verithin, if you kind of go lightly kind of over the lines, you get the same exact look as that um, Klingner ink, because it'll have this like sienna orangey glow with these red wine centers.
Oh, it
And
looks
so
amazing with the red wine that you get going there. And is that just a
this is pumpkin orange Verithin. That's what I'm saying. If you kind of go over it
yeah.
a little bit, you know,
Is it
you get
polychrome?
this. No, it's Prismacolor. It's a
That's
Prismacolor
Prismacolor.
Verithin
Oh yeah, it is.
pumpkin orange. The Verithins won't snap on you. They're just too sharp.
Hmm.
So, but it has this orangey red thing that I
I
just
love
like
the
the
look
look
of it.
of. Yeah,
Oh, I
I
love the
just like
look
the
of
look
it.
of it. I mean, I'm gonna go over this in color, but I add it anyway because it adds. It's
Mhm.
similar to having a sienna base that you'd have like in a you know an acrylic painting or oil painting or something.
Yeah,
You
that
could
makes
do
sense.
a full like shade pass with this, which I have on earlier pieces. I have found that with the scribblies that if I'm gonna do like a more tightly rendered piece, like the
Hmm.
Sonic or the Sandman's, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But on the scribblies, it just there's no point to it. It just ruins the whole fucking thing. So there's no sense in it. You're kind of looking for texture at that point. So
Oh, that makes perfect sense.
I've tried doing this before I'll add the ink, but because of the waxy nature of the lead, it can dry out the the Copics.
Hmm.
So I just go over it after actually. So it doesn't really matter what order you put it down.
What was the color exactly again?
Pumpkin orange.
This was pumpkin orange. Okay.
Yeah, it's pumpkin orange.
Yeah, I think part of my tax is going to be going to art supplies. Okay.
As long as you make your money back, the problem is when you're hoarding art supplies and you become like one of those cats that's selling like, Amway and then you're just buying all of it yourself.
Yeah.
Like Peg
Well,
Bundy.
not. I don't buy a lot. I buy, stuff I'll use and carry to cons and things. So I'm going to be starting to do cons
What
again.
cons are you
Actually,
going to?
I want to do Boston Comic Con when it comes around in the summer. See, I'll probably do Rhode Island. There's a few small ones that are coming up. I'll be doing free comic book day at one of the New England comics up around here because they give me a free spot to sit down and draw, and I draw like headshots for kids for free,
Cool.
and people buy my stuff. So it's great. Uh, so I'll
Get
be
them in with
looking.
the old free sketch technique.
Yep.
Well, when you're dealing with everyone knowing who everyone else is, it's not a bad place. So I know pros go, "You're bringing our rates down." No, no, we're not. Like you really not. You
Nope.
know, like I'm sorry, you charging. Okay, you sit right next to Adam Hughes, give out free sketches, and see if Adam Hughes's prices go down ever.
Yep. They
It's
won't.
not
It'd
how it
be
works.
amazing.
Yeah, it would be fun to watch. Just, what are you doing? But it doesn't work that way. You know,
No, no, it does not.
if anything, you may have taken money away from concessions. That's about it. Well,
Yep.
rather than get that soda, or we'll just get something later, and I'm gonna buy this now. Like that's about it.
Mhm. Yep. And I'm fine with taking money away from concessions because they're stupid overpriced.
Yeah, they throw a shitload of it away, so,
Yep, they do.
as we all know.
My first job was working for McDonald's. I'm well aware. End of the night, it was always like, okay, what do you got left? This is what we're eating before as we clean up everything.
They won't even let you do that anymore. They call it theft.
Yeah.
We're paying to throw it away.
Yeah.
It's just like, well, what's the point of getting a fucking fast food job if you ain't gonna be able to eat for free? No, no, no. It's here to do the like. Oh, okay, so you're just cruel now. All right, fuck your jobs.
Yep. I'd never work in fast food again. That was a great job when I was like, 16. No, it wasn't. But the one thing I will say about working for McDonald's when I was like 16, they were always school first. So if I had like a sporting thing or whatever, they're always like, "Yep, you got the time off. There you go." Didn't have to really worry about it or anything.
Not Pizza Hut. Who's gonna make these Bigfoot pizzas? I don't fucking know. Get Reggie down here. Mr. Phil's a me. That's when he took over Nintendo. I'm like, that's the fucker who made that Bigfoot pizza that I was forced to fucking make when I had a. I didn't. I went to the dance. I'm like, fuck you. I'm going to. I'm not doing this.
Yeah, everything was always like, "Oh, I got a school thing." They're like, "Okay, that's fine." I'd put
Yeah.
in
People are like, we love
like my
Reggie. I'm like, let me tell you something about Reggie's reign at Pizza Hut. Not the same Reggie. Bunch of fucking taskmasters.
yeah, I just bring in like my soccer schedule or whatnot. Like I can't work these days. I'm like, okay. My basketball schedule, whatever. Like, nope, can't work these days.
Yeah, we didn't play sports. I wasn't allowed to. My dad tried to ground me from going to work. You know, so
I
for
don't
no
think work.
reason. Just my dad. My dad would just he didn't want me going anywhere. I didn't ever do anything wrong. Just like my childhood's essentially what it's like to live under COVID restrictions. Like
I had a very
I have,
boring childhood in a lot of ways. I didn't do anything either, so I start to think I should have.
I
But
would just sit in my room. I would sit in the living room when once the chores were done. And there was a lot to do. Um, once the entire house was clean, everyone was fed, and the lawn was watered, and everything was vacuumed and dusted. Then I could do homework, uh, or draw. And so I would just put on wrestling and draw. And now with Peacock, I can watch 1993 through 1996's Monday Night Raws while I draw and get the same fucking
the same experience.
same experience. Yeah.
Yeah, my parents were definitely not like that. They're just like first thing it's like, after I've been home for like an hour or so, your homework done? Like I haven't started
No,
it yet. I'd be lucky if I
no,
was out of my school uniform at that point. So,
nobody had my. Very few people on this planet had the weird concoction that was my childhood. I remember any sane adult coming near my fucking house would be like, "What the fuck is going on here?" Like there were people who had it far worse. like physical abuse and shit. I mean, I had my fair share of, 80s kids fucking abuse, but it was just more like I try to tell people it's more like the first time I ever saw a movie that I was like, "Oh, that's my life," was Shawshank Redemption. Like, and that's exactly what it felt like to be in my house. This growing, this dread, this never-ending taskmaster like relationship with the warden is the exact relationship I had with my father in high school. My
Damn.
father was one part warden, one part Hadley.
Oh God,
Like
that's just terrible.
yeah, yeah. So like I love my dad, but that's how it was. And anyone who came near it was like, "What is going on here?" They would give me that look of that pity. Like, look when you're walking out of a kennel and you can't adopt the dog.
Yeah.
That's the look I'd get. You know? Yeah. So
Oh,
it's like,
hey
so I'm
Ashley.
super sympathetic to folks who are like in rough situations. I'm like, yeah, I get it. I mean, sometimes
Yeah.
it can't get better for like a long time. So
Yeah,
I
I'd
get
get
it.
home from school. I'd throw my crap down. I would usually get a snack or something like that, and throw on the TV or something. My brother would be like immediately out of his uniform. I just didn't care. Um, uh,
Everyone has that fry smell when they come back from McDonald's. The
all I
oil.
meant this is my when I got home from school. I
Oh,
had a
okay.
I went to Catholic school, so I had a uniform.
Oh, that's
Um, no. When I worked at McDonald's, I was out of that uniform as soon as possible. The thing would like stick to you. So, be like, ladies, I'm getting changed as soon as my shift's over.
well. That was the whole reason why I was like, high school. I was like, I'm gonna work at this Pizza Hut because that's the reason why we moved to this town initially. Is my mom was the manager of the new Pizza Hut when they had a red roof. This is the delivery unit. But I was like, look, I know what it smells like. It doesn't smell like fried oil. It smells like pizza, and I'd rather smell like pizza than fried fucking oil, like deep fried oil. You know.
I ended up working for Puppuccinos for a while, and yeah, that was much more tolerable.
And
Also, I mean, I could just supply my own pants and things like that, where it didn't. I just had to wear their stupid golf shirt, so that was much better.
but I quickly moved to doing security for my father, even in high school. So it was like a couple times a week, either on the weekends or on Friday, usually Fridays and Saturdays, nights. I'd be doing security for my dad in high school, on
Mm-hmm.
top of all my chores and not getting paid. He told me I'd get paid, but then there'd be this like 6 month wait to getting paid. And then even then it was like below market rates, and I was just like, that's when I started learning that I could sell sketches for like $1 if I just drew like shit people like Animaniacs or
Yeah.
Disney shit over and over. So um, I'd move at least a couple drawings a week. Build up like between $2 and $5 a week, and then save that up, and that would pay for whatever the girlfriend wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but someone always had like, I want this and I want that. Oh, I want it. That's So I started hawking art because my dad wouldn't
His
pay me.
dad wouldn't pay you.
Yeah. Well, you do. You live here. You gotta pay your rent. I'm fucking 16.
Yeah, my dad
No
tried that.
allowance. No allowance. Yeah.
Yeah, my dad tried that shit on me. When I was a kid, when I was getting a paycheck finally, he's like, "And now I'm a," he goes, "This will go to your mother for rent and all that." And I'm like, "With all the other shit I do around here, I don't think so." So,
Well, the problem was as I was adopted, so the alternative was we'll just get rid of you. I was like,
I did
you
not.
know, like
I did not have that issue. Thank
yeah, there's always a social worker, and you're like, or living with my crazy uncles, which wasn't an option either. I mean, like,
you. You already described them, so yeah, no.
yeah, you know, my uncle had a family, the radio one, but they're all split up now because it wasn't happy over there. So I was just like, I learned very early on, like, better the devil you know,
Yeah,
you know,
I can agree with that. So,
yeah. Like I at least here I know what to expect, like I don't like the unpredictability of the other situation. Like living with my mom that's unpredictable. I mean, in the middle of the night, it could just be like, okay, we're out of here. That's why I left. Like
Mm-hmm.
now we're moving, but it's 2 in the morning. I know we gotta go. Like I helped my mom once. I didn't realize what I was doing, but I helped my mom once burglarize my dad. Like
Oh God, that's
she brought her
hilarious.
boyfriend over in the dead of night, and I kept watch. Just keep an eye out for your dad in case he comes home. Like, okay, and then they went through the window, and so forever this window was broken after I ended up being adopted by him, right? Because it's either
Mm-hmm.
that or I had to stay at my social work and get adopted by go to a foster facility, right? And I was like, I'd rather live with my stepfather, because he was able to have the in because of my brother.
Right.
He had a child with my mom, so he got first dibs according to the state. But
Dibs.
uh,
That's
well,
just
I mean,
sounds.
it was my choice, but what
Yeah,
choice do you have? Like, have you ever been down to like a child ward? Like it's not
I have.
juvenile hall, but it's like the facility where the social
Oh yeah,
workers and
I
everyone. Yeah,
have.
it's like a pound. Like it's like it's not good. It's like going to a city. It's like night court. The opening to night court.
Yep.
With depression. You know.
Oh
So
yeah. Yeah. No, I used to volunteer a lot, and one of the things I did volunteer at basically a they're not really called orphanages anymore, but yeah, foster home type thing, but not yeah that those places.
so
I went back to just volunteering at soup kitchens after doing one of those.
so for years, in my head, this window. My dad, he was a cheapskate. He had money, but he was always giving his money to like because he worked at this place called one of his main contracts was for an adult um, bookstore and an adult strip joint called the Body Shop. And then there was Lay Girls, which is like a stripper pole thing plus bookshop. But the Body Shop was like an actual like strip club. And
Hmm.
so he was always giving his money to the strippers to help because he was a fucking idiot. And so we just didn't have a lot of money, even though he made plenty of money, but it just always went to helping other people. And so the window that my mom broke to get into the house, so she busted a little hole and then put the hand in and then opened the window, right? So
Right.
my dad just put clear packing tape over this fucking hole. And it had been sitting there from 1987 to like this is 1995. I just figured my dad always knew my mom had robbed him and he just let it go.
Yeah.
So I'm like, when are you gonna fix that hole mom broke? And like it just dawned on me one day. And he goes, "What do you mean your mother broke?" And I'm like, "Yeah, when she robbed you." Wait, you know about the robbery? I'm like, "Yeah." And she came in here, and he was like, "What? Like it was your mother?" He didn't know my mom, so I had to tell him the whole story. I'm like, "Yeah, I was right there. She broke the hole. She was with fucking her boyfriend, her boyfriend's kid. Like brought the whole family along to rob my dad. Like."
Oh God.
You ever do a family robbery? Just curious.
No, no, I've
And if
never
you're
done that.
wondering where my mom she ended up working in the DA's office to help, and you're gonna love this. You're gonna fucking love this. To go after people not paying fucking child support.
Oh dear
By
God.
the way, my mom never once paid child support. So at her funeral, I had to sit there where the entire city showed up praising my mom for all the good she's done for kids, and my family is all looking, the survivor, my cousins, right, are looking at me like what?
Yeah.
So there's this. I always tell people it wasn't the roughest childhood. It's a childhood of like uh contradiction,
You could say that again.
absurd contradiction, right?
Oh
So
God, I'm so sorry, man. That sucks.
I guess I mean it's not like I was up crying over that as a kid. You know what I mean? It was just like, oh, I guess I did. I did. I helped my mom rob my dad once. That oh, that's an experience.
That's so funny.
I
Just like
mean,
looking back at it, it's like, oh yeah, yeah, my mom robbed
yeah, it's
my dad.
funny. I mean, the weird part is the shit she stole, which was a TV and like her Atari and shit like that. Um, she ended up having stolen. We got robbed, really robbed at this. She had this cottage. When I say cottage, it was like a one bedroom, like house in the back of someone's house she was renting, right? So I had a kitchen, one bedroom, and the
Yeah.
bedroom was for me. She'd slept on the couch. and it was the only way to get to this was to go through an alley. Right, the alley's so small, my car now could barely fit in it because I went and took my wife there before we left San Diego to show her this place I lived in. It was infested with roaches. It was not a good place, and so but my mom was dealing with crystal meth at the time, so one of her, people she probably owed money to, robbed us. Like legitimately trashed the whole place up. And they only took shit of value, like they left my toys alone and shit, but they took, her jewelry and all the shit she stole from my dad. And I had explained to him the story. That's what was stolen. And the crazy part is, at the time, my dad was keeping her money to keep me fed because he knew she didn't have it.
Right.
So he would leave little envelopes with cash in the morning in the mailbox. So in the morning when we get up for school, I'd go and get the envelope cash once a week, and bring it to her because
Yeah.
she felt too bad to do it. Yeah, yeah. It's a normal
Yeah.
childhood, right?
Yeah, I would say it's very normal. You damn.
It's just weird, right? It's what it is. It's
Oh,
not. Yeah, I don't know what you would call it. It's just
I
weird.
mean, I definitely had a normal childhood. So this is just like, damn. Yeah.
Yeah, which is why when people are like, "Why?" My uncles will go, "Why didn't you come live with us?" I'm like, "'Cause I just didn't want any more madness in my life." You know what I mean? Like, I know when I come home, long as everything's done, my father will leave me alone, and I could stay up till 2 a.m. drawing whatever I wanted. You know, but just everything had to be done. So as long as you learned that everything had to be done, like in Shawshank, everything had to be done, then you get left alone.
Yep.
So I learned very quickly how to just get everything done. Um, you
Yeah.
know,
I can
whatever.
respect
And
that.
people are like, you're losing your childhood, and I'm like, I'll get it back later. Like, I got it pretty good now. I'm not one to complain. Look at what I'm doing on a Sunday. So
You're literally
like, who,
drawing cartoon characters on a Sunday.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah, it's Easter
yeah.
Sunday.
So
You're drawing cartoon characters. So,
like I'd ever celebrate religion. So
yeah.
like,
I went to a Catholic school that cured me of my Catholicism quick.
my dad would go, "That's right. I like the death penalty." I'm like, "You like Jesus?" And I'm like, "Because they put the death penalty on him." And my dad would go ahead to think about it. I'm like, "Yeah, it doesn't teach you to like the death penalty, Dad. Just so you know. But it's all myth anyway. So you go on believing what you believe in. I'm gonna watch wrestling." He's like, "Wrestling's fake." So religion, Dad. I'm out of here. you know. Off to watch Undertaker versus Undertaker.
I remember that match. It's like
Well, that was
so
the
fun.
fucked up one because that was one where Brett was supposed to headline with his versus Owen for the championship belt, and
Yep.
it was a fantastic fucking match. One of the best matches of all time. It's so good, but Vince just won that fucking roid fucking thing with Congress, and so he wanted to headline a big dude, the big dude,
Yeah.
big cartoon match, which I was fine with because I'm like, hey, look, it's just like Street Fighter Championship Edition, where now we get to have the same characters fighting the same characters. Like,
Yeah. Exactly.
so it didn't, as a video game guy, I'm like, well, this just makes total sense to me, but it
It's a
was
mirror
throwing
match.
off. Yeah, my friends who weren't video game people but were wrestling fans just thought it was ridiculous, and I was like, no, I love it. Like, plus it was short. It was like 8 minutes. It didn't last so long anyway. But
My was it my cousin Phil? He loved wrestling, and well, we had a black box, and so he'd come over for like whatever the big pay per view event was and record it. Sit down and watch it with them and all that because I liked Phil, and I was like, Undertaker versus Undertaker. Well, that's the thing.
yeah, that's the thing.
And he's like, yeah, and I was like, I watched the match. I'm like, oh, it was entertaining.
'94 SummerSlam.
Yep. I definitely I watched a decent amount of wrestling. I wasn't probably watching it for the same reasons other people were watching it for, but I thought some of the
Man,
guys.
meat. Yeah, but I get it. My dad looked at your nose was kind of gay. I'm like, it's a whole lot of gay, Dad. You should just sit down and watch it with me. We'll have a gay old time. He's like, all right, I'm out of here. I learned to lean right into that fucking humor fast. Just like the Flintstones. We'll have a gay old time, Dad. And he's like, all right, Mo, peace. So
I
I'm like,
would,
it's fun. Like, and I Go, whatever. Watch your. If you think fucking the NFL's real, Dad, good luck. You know. I mean, and I was like, and I would tell my, but no, it's real. They don't. I'm like, it's the same fucking teams all the fucking time. No, it's like no, there's a level of fakeness here. You know, you may not be able to see it, but I smell bullshit.
Oh, this bullshit in just about every professional sport. It's one of the. Is it in college? I got scouted to play on a soccer team, and I'm just like, well, that's gonna lead me nowhere. So didn't bother. Also, they wasn't scouted by one of the schools I wanted to go to. So
And I was explaining to my dad, I'm like, Dad, look, here's how I know some of this has to be rigged on some level. Okay, you ever watch this game and you're like, the ref is cheating. Yeah, because the ref is cheating. Like these things are dictated by ratings, Dad. Right? It's on TV. Well, there's ratings. And do you think that the people who own this want a Super Bowl that's going to feature two shitty fucking teams no one's going to watch? And he would just sit there and think about it. I'm like, they go. So I'm a wrestling guy. I understand booking. At least they're not hiding it here. Now there's a bunch of bullshit right wing politics that's always gone with Vince McMahon's fucking bullshit. So
oh
especially
yeah,
when if you watch it now, you're gonna see it all over the fucking place.
oh
But
god, yeah.
I was like, well, I'm in a right wing house, so like whatever. Like nothing I can do about that. Nothing I can do about it. I just won't let it affect me. But other than that, this shit's fucking fun to watch.
No,
You
I
know,
always looked at wrestling as a live action comic book.
the refs have been arrested for cheating. Vegas pulls the strings. Yeah, and it's
Yeah,
not been. It's just nothing new. Even before Vegas, long as look, it's really simple. If it's being broadcast on television and ratings matter, someone manipulated that book. A book is whoever put what the match is, right? Whether it's Hulk
yeah,
Hogan versus the Ultimate Warrior, or it's fucking the Patriots versus the Broncos, right?
yep,
Right, whatever that is, one of those teams is there to guarantee people show up to watch.
yep,
At least one of those teams. And if you think that it isn't, you're delusional. But the show on Netflix where ratings don't matter. No, no, right. You need the commercial. Well, I wonder how that worked out. You know, you would think with all the money the Cowboys have, they would win a Super Bowl. Yeah, well,
oh, they have won a Super Bowl. I don't know.
he means recently. But
Oh, okay,
hey, you don't know who's butter and who's muffin.
that's
You
true.
know, sometimes
Yeah.
there's look. One thing we've learned: if you watch The Big Short, there's a lot of money to be made in failure.
Oh god, yeah. No,
And what
the
do they?
big
What
was
happens
very eye opening.
when you lose in the NFL? You get like better pickings, right?
Yep.
So maybe they're on a 5-year plan of losing so they can get better picks. You just don't know. You just don't know, right?
Well, it's like,
There's
I live in New England, and yeah, the Patriots dominated football for so goddamn long, and it's like whatever. I lost interest after the first Super Bowl that they won.
oh yeah, and Belichick wasn't out there videotaping dudes, right? Sure.
Yeah, he was doing that the entire time, but everybody did it.
No, but they would not even own up to that. Like, and that's the lowest level fucking kind of cheating there. Of course they're watching tapes. Of course they're down the field photographing or recording dudes making their signals, but they
well,
won't even own up to that.
well, I
So if
mean,
they won't own up to that shit, what do you think is really going on?
when I was playing soccer in high school, we literally had practice sessions where we watched the other teams play. Like we had videotapes of the other teams playing. So it's like, yeah, this is nothing new. And I knew like the the football team, they commonly had the other team's games and they'd have like a practice session where they'd watch a game that the other team was doing. And this is fucking high school. So
Yeah, so it's fine though. I don't go, well, see, it's all fake. It's not worth the empathy. I'm not telling you not to enjoy it, but
yeah.
don't pretend like one thing's better than the other. Like so long as there's ratings and advertisements involved, you know, if it was solely like, uh, if it's solely a charity endeavor, you know, then yeah, they'll stay away from it.
Yeah. Well, it's also
But
like the reason why baseball's played at night is because they could get more people in there. It was literally just because they could pack the stands more. Because baseball used to be a day game, but yeah, then they found out they could put lights up and get people in.
yeah, but then you're stuck
Oh.
watching baseball. So
Well, I never liked baseball. Played softball,
I
but
literally, my uncle brought me to this game once in the early 2000s. You know, it was the Padres, and like it was that in like the playoffs or some shit like that. And they had
mhm.
Caminiti. I just remember the name, right? It was a big deal at the time. It's Mark Caminiti, guys, whatever.
Sure.
Dude hit a grand. What's that grand slam where everyone's on the base and then you hit it and then everyone goes right?
Yep.
It's about the
Yeah.
best fucking play you can make in baseball. And I have never been more bored in my entire life. I'm like, if this is the best play you can get with one of the best dudes there is playing in a winning season, and this ain't for me, man. This ain't for
Yeah.
me.
No, it's freaking boring.
Just not my sport. You know,
Uh,
I'd rather
I
not be here.
I gotta step away from it. Right back.
Hmm. Better Call Saul season 6 starts this week, so I'm super excited. And Dragon Quest Adventures of Dice should be back on board this week after the whole delay. So that's exciting. Yeah. Where's my?
I'm back.
You.
Yeah, that is looking really fun.
That's fun. He's doing the what's up. Let's go full 90s here. So what's
Yeah.
up? Blah, blah. I know.
Uh,
Learn that kind of shit from doing t-shirts. You know? Like,
yep.
I could take this thing, erase it, and draw in a Jim Lee style, him doing what's up. You know? I'll give him the normal one, and I'll give him the what's up. And then, why did you do that? No, no, no. You know, it's like I did some Eric Larson stuff, right? Like with the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the Spider-Man stuff at the time, and they didn't have any of his shit on the. Marvel had this thing called the Damn site, which is this digital asset management, and um, they had nothing. So I would go and get all my scans, right, all my issues, and clean up, and then have to trace over and do clean versions because it's a scan, you can't really print it.
Right.
And I would get pretty close, but like some things had to be changed for printing purposes, like the webbing had to be fixed, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes with certain anatomy, it's fine in a comic book. On a shirt, it doesn't work, so I had to change a muscle or something. So he ended up, it was like a couple years ago, he was reposting one of the shirts that went around. He's like, why do they change it? And they should never do this. And this isn't how I do it. And I'd go, well, look, I did that, you know? And I did it because of this. And my intention was to keep it as close to your art as humanly possible. But please understand that there are these like there are limitations to the medium, and there are art directors who are like complaining about certain things. So it's like sometimes they have to be modified to fit, you know, like it's still a job, man. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
by the way, I don't make any money off. Like I made money to do it, and I don't make money on the sales. That's a whole nother fucking problem, you know. So,
Yep.
and then he was like, "All right, man. I mean, I totally, he was totally cool. He brought that one back down a little bit, but like I was like, I'm just trying to put your art out. At the time, I was just trying to put your art out there because it didn't exist. Like for
Right.
royalties and shit, bro. Like I was there with the image revolution. I totally agree. You should be paid royalties. You know,
Yep.
they won't do it, so I don't know what to do about that. Seems like you need to get a lawyer. Like you're a millionaire, you could afford. I'm just a lowly T-shirt guy trying to do a job, man. Provide a Larson fan. I was just said I'm just T-shirt. I'm just trying to provide Larson Spider-Man fans with Larson Spider-Man art, as opposed to this generic fucking marketing shit they make with airbrushed stuff. Like
Oh yeah.
because he was like, "Why'd you delete the background?" Because it has a photographic background on one of them, and I'm like, because the marketing thing at the time was a character in front of a photographic background. That's there's these things called trends, Eric,
Yes.
right? And like,
It's a thing.
yeah, and they bring up these giant trend boards, and you have to find a way. Like, it's not like it's a different thing. Like, let's just pretend you're the comic book dude, and I know a little something about fucking selling T-shirts at mass market. But
Yep.
believe me, you wanted me with this, and as opposed to everyone else in the room. You trust me on this one. You know,
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
I had to fight to just get it in there. So
But it's cool. Look, it's Eric Larson. Who? Shut up.
it was tough. But that's why, like, there some eventually some guy at Target and some guy at Hot Topic, they were Larson fans and they got it.
Yep.
So and then that's the one that worked. Like, it's one of those things I did where it was like, you've seen it. Well, you didn't do it. Eric Larson drew it. Yeah, sure. Talk to Eric Larson if he drew that. Go ask him about it. Like, I wish it were so. You know, I wish they were paying these guys like they'd have time to do. Or if you just clip it out of comic and put it on, it just doesn't work that way.
Nope.
And when Marvel would get around to stuff like that, what they would do is hire a vector artist to poorly trace their fucking art. So it would be super simplified. Like, like when you buy an enamel pin of something and it's super simplified,
Yep.
it'd look like that, you know?
Yeah, that's hot garbage.
And so
Uh,
part of the wonder of getting some of their stuff on licensed merch is that it would have the same amount of detail or pen rendering as the original. Now, I would like just the original as it is, but the original as is was cut off. A lot of times they weren't designing their pages to be on t-shirts, they were designing them for a comic page. So it's missing an
right.
arm, it's missing a leg, and you have to have the ability to draw the other piece as close as possible, you know?
Yep. No, I had comic book T-shirts and stuff like that. Like I had a Wolverine T-shirt, a Ghost Rider one, stuff like that, all from like the early to mid '90s. And
Yeah, those graffiti images, or there was one shop out of New York that was doing those AOPs on like white t-shirts, like the really big oversized. But they would make them oversized because they'd have the characters falling off the shirt the way they would on a panel.
mm-hmm.
That's why they were done that. There was no way for them to shrink the character down and then draw the pieces that were missing at the
Right.
time.
Yep. Like, because I remember, I had the Jim Lee Wolverine T-shirt, like a McFarlane Spider-Man T-shirt, and they were cool. I liked them. And my sister was like, "You're wearing that?" I'm like, "Yes."
You know how hard it was, but in 2000, like there's that the Jim Lee X Men shirt that I've had at Hot Topic for like I put it together in 2012. A lot of this stuff was 2012 when I went back to T-shirts after Game Fan. So I came in going, I'm making them 90s shit because fucking no one can buy this anywhere, and I want to own this shit. And they were annoyed because at the time that was not the fucking thing to do. There wasn't a 90s push in 2000 fucking 12. So, and if you don't believe me, go to Heritage Auctions and go look at any piece of 90s art that's sold in around 2012 and you'd be able to get a nice big fat piece for about 500, 600 bucks. Now
Yep.
it's going for 15,000. So like, don't take my word for it. Just the numbers don't
Oh,
lie.
well,
Yeah. So um but like I put that one together and that was a clusterfuck to fucking clean up because I had to just again they all came from comic books. I had to scan them and then rebuild everything and it had to be indecipherable.
mm,
The first time I had to do that was in 2005. There's a Steve Ditko Spider-Man shirt where he's like standing straight ahead at you. It's kind
yep.
of chunky. Yeah, they didn't have that art. So I had to take a real low res piece of something and I didn't I didn't have the ability to draw digitally at the time. So I had to print it out and with a brush pen, a Copic brush pen, re-ink it flawlessly. So that's 9 times out of 10 when you buy one of those shirts, it's actually my art.
Yeah.
It's just, and I remember I did a program once. I spent a week with Paul Frank. You know who Paul Frank is? You ever seen
Yes.
Julius the monkey?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know who Paul Frank was because I don't know anything about fucking clothing. So I don't.
I'm a girl.
Um, right, let alone girls' clothing. But they sent me up in 2006, me and two other artists, they sent us up to LA to work with Paul Frank on a Marvel. He was doing a retro Marvel package for Walmart at the time. It was going to be this cool fucking thing. It never got done, but it would have these
Mm-hmm.
cool like it would almost look like these pop up displays that look like the How to Draw Marvel comics way in a way with like it was going to be fucking cool. But all this retro stuff. And he was like, "This shirt's great. We need to like tap into what Ditko did." I'm like, "Well, I drew that." And he was like, "No, that's the Steve Ditko shirt." I'm like, "Yeah, except that particular rendering is my art, like because they don't have Steve Ditko's art on hand. Like now they've brought all that shit out. But if you bought a Steve Ditko Spider-Man shirt between 2006 and I'll say 2015, 9 times out of 10, it's mine. You know, but
Uh,
like just being able to flip styles like that, like was one of the things that like kept me employed. Because I would go doing that, and then I'd have to have that done before lunch. They wouldn't give me a whole fucking day to figure out Steve Ditko's inking style. You know what I mean? Like I'd
right.
have to go and recreate all that shit and have it on shirt before lunch, and then after lunch they'd put me on West Coast choppers. Like it's a little bit of a mind fuck. You know?
Yeah, I could see that. Damn. That's cool
Yeah,
though.
thanks you. But I know that Jason, he's like, oh, we're always with his t-shirt stores. I'm like, you don't find any of this shit interesting, guys? Like, all right, I just won't talk about it. Like, I
Oh,
mean,
I love this
I
stuff.
don't know. We could just talk about how fucking episode 9 sucks for another hour. I mean, I'm cool with that. We got some shit from fans because we talked about it for, like, was it 20 minutes? I'm like, I'll do this for 2 hours. Why this fucking movie's dumb. They're like, well, we like it. Well, then great. Make more of it. I like Batman Forever, but going down that path led to Batman and Robin. You understand what I'm saying? So you
Oh
need
yeah,
to understand that they won't make more of it. They'll make more of it times 10. You know what I mean? It'll go too far. It's where I always say when artists start to parody themselves, you'll go too
yep,
far. And you have to really, especially when you have like a style, right, with weird proportions, be very careful. If this were a comic, I'd have to make sure this character looked like this, but everyone else they could have a style, but they all have to be of similar proportions.
mm,
Because otherwise, he's not special, and the whole fucking book will look wonky, and you won't know what to look at. It's a
right.
very complex thing to do. It's very complex. Like it's a hard lesson to learn. And some of those guys who had crazy, super fucking awesome art styles, sometimes those books just got way out of hand to look at. Earlier Scotty Young stuff being the best of it, but there's some like the Human Torch stuff. It could be tough to look at some of those pages. Like, what am I supposed to be looking at? Probably
Yeah.
Carlos Barberi was the worst at it. You know, or
Mm,
what was that for Ferreira? His
yes.
his pages just get all over the fucking place. You would never know what to look at. So it was like cool as an art book, and almost impossible to read as a comic, right? Like, and it's not that the style wouldn't work. It's that you need to give one character or two characters, and then like the big proportions. Everything else needs to be controlled proportions. I would say to make an analogy would be like like if you have Invader Zim the cartoon, right? Everything has like a similar proportion and style, but you can do one.
Yeah.
Jesus,
Yeah.
Jesus, Jesus, Allison, you gotta put that on Buzz. What was I saying? Threw me off. All right. Anyway, as an artist, you have to. We all get carried away sometimes. Yeah, it's that is a difficult thing, and you only learn that through hindsight. I myself have been there. I've been like, oh, I went way too far. You know,
My bad.
like
Thought I had that. I thought I had that silenced.
yeah. Um,
I do now.
I think it's. I think as I love Angel Medina's art. I think sometimes in his books it can get hard to read because of that. And so like it's just a matter of like control, like where to put a crazy character or some really fun stuff, but to make sure everything else has like this anchor. Otherwise, it just starts to fly away from you. You lose, and you're like, what is not working here? It took me a long time to learn this lesson. You know,
Mm.
so
Oh. No, Ashley, your stuff rocks. Don't worry about it.
because I haven't gone off the fucking deep end and given you some real horse shit, but that's possible. Like my art director used to tell me I thought too much about this. You think too much, and I'm like, you're not thinking enough. Like I would yell. None of you people are thinking. That's the problem. And you can really see it in street art or graffiti art or like the Shepard Fairey kind of like artist, right? That kind of person, or
Yeah.
like Juxtapose or something. They go too far, right? Like you'll see like I think David Cho is a really cool fine artist. There gets to be a point where you're like Cho needs to pull back some bit. Cho, half Cho now. You've gone.
Two and a
Sometimes they
half.
feel like they need to top themselves. Like I always look at this like Daft Punk started off really reserved, and then you get to over the course of like 3 albums, you get to Daft Punk, right?
Right.
But then they hit a point where like we have nowhere else to go, so we quit. I'm not saying that. Don't feel like you hit a point where as an artist, we need to be consistent. So you have to get to a point where you're like, this is interesting, but I also need to have a place to experiment. And if you're going to experiment, put it into your work, but then anchor it somehow. Anchor it somehow. Like Sienkiewicz is probably the best at this. Like
Mm.
I think that's the artist that I would look to, not in terms of emulating style, but a person who can go look at Electra Rides Again or Lives Again, and then go look at The Shadow. and just it's two different artists. It's two different artists. You know, like it's
About
crazy.
Moon Knight and look at like
Yeah,
some
but
of
the
his
Moon
work.
Knight's difficult because even he wouldn't tell you to look at Moon Knight. He was emulating Neil Adams for the
Oh,
majority of
that's
Moon
true.
Knight.
Oh, that's true.
So really, New Mutants is
Yeah,
the
New Mutants would
he
be
was producing New Mutants art while he was on Moon Knight. It just wasn't in the book; it was in his art books.
right.
So he wasn't putting that into comics because it was hard enough to get across what he was doing, you know, as it is. So you have to deal with editorials, a whole bunch of rules and shop. This is, by the way, all these conversations are eliminating the fact that you have to get approvals, right? I'm not even having that conversation right now
Oh
because
god, yeah. Yeah,
but
Ashley is like, you ever draw something so big you're like, what the fuck do I put this? Where the fuck do I put this? Doesn't fit. Like an
like an
appendage.
appendage, yeah. Well, that's why it's really important to have composition done at a
Or,
separate stage, and then and then I mean the use of negative space, like I told, it's just tough. We go through different like as artists, you're going to go through different like things that click in your head, and sometimes it's construction, sometimes it's energy, sometimes it's storytelling. Like I've been really focused on like negative space. I just haven't talked about it these past couple of years. Like where, and so a lot of like my little commissions. Sometimes you'll see me like flip a style or an inking style or some. It's really based around like cutting out a shape. Like from a negative space standpoint. Like this whole piece is really about cutting out a shape, while working in a story of the podcast. So storytelling in one drawing and then cutting out a shape. And that's why these things are happening here. And it's not based off some rule of fucking thirds or a pyramid with I'm not thinking about that. It's individual to the piece. But in a comic, like I would even go so far as like to say like it's really important to have a whole page where you're just over here is the character and just a few things that matter to that storytelling and everything else is blank with a little bit of something.
mhm.
Like that is being a storyteller, not drawing everything on the page. And that's a whole nother level of like you either, you know, um, your mind is there for that or it isn't, like
Yeah, yeah, I can
yeah.
get behind that.
It's not
Yeah,
something you can just sit down and watch a video and go, "Oh, I get it now." Like you have to be.
no, you
There's
got to
just
do it.
levels. I mean, not just do it, but your mind has to be like, "I'm interested in this now." And
Right.
that's the thing that again, like Feng Shu and getting back to like technical, skilled learning is about. Here's you're going to learn this and you're going to learn that and you're going to do this and it's going to produce this. Okay, but like when you go beyond that, right, and you go into the realm of like what I would call making art. What is art, right? Like I'm not making a production asset. I'm making a piece of art. What does that mean? And that means it has to be an expression of where your mind is at the point too. It
Hmm.
has to be like a part of you. And any great artist that you really respect, you'll be able to tell when they made. Like I could tell, you could tell when Bill Sienkiewicz made something in 1980 as opposed to now. All of it's great. He's never lost his ability to illustrate, but you can tell he goes. You're seeing what's in his mind at any given era. It's not on a loop, right?
Right.
It's a complex discussion to have. Like it's a lot of
As soon as you bring up
fine.
Sienkiewicz, it immediately gets complex. So yeah, yeah.
Happy
Royce is right.
Easter. Hey,
Happy
what's
Easter.
up, Royce? Is it? I don't know. It's Mallrats Day. It's the
Yeah, it's
only
more
Easter
that.
movie I ever watch. Easter Bunny's dead, dude. You know, fucking
Uh,
Easter Bunny did this to you.
kick his ass.
We kicked his ass.
Good. Uh,
The kids join in.
oh, did you see the new what Jerk Comics is putting out for the new thing?
Yeah, I know about that, dude.
Yeah.
Dude used to print up shit and paint around it.
Yeah, and you said he was like working for Bill Watterson and shit like that.
Yeah, when guys would go to conventions and lie about their
Yep.
resume. Those are all like early 2000s convention like bullshit tricks, you know?
Yep.
Now you just have to have a wall of fucking prints to get any kind of like real attention. So it's a different game, but you can always tell when someone has a bunch of random art supplies pinned to a wall behind them, they're full of shit. Why do you have three different pairs of scissors?
Yeah.
Any real artist has one pair of scissors and they can never find them when they actually need to cut shit up.
You're
That's
damn right.
I fucking have those scissors. I bought them, and then you have to go borrow your significant other's scissors, and then they get pissed because you should have your own fucking scissors. And then as soon as you use their scissors, you'll find your scissors. They're probably 3 feet away from you, and you
Yep.
didn't notice. But you don't have six fucking pairs of scissors pinned to a wall behind you. That's some shit. A half-assed public access television fucking set director would fucking put behind someone to make them look artistic.
Damn right. And I've done
Yeah, like
it.
my mom, before we split, um, there was this Halloween costume contest. So I was like in the third grade, right?
Mhm.
And we had this after school program that I would go to, and wait for her to come pick me up. Wasn't a daycare, but it was part of the school. And they had this Halloween costume thing, and my mom just for some reason, we didn't have money, so she's like, "I'm gonna make you costume," and she just started dressing me up and stuff that she owned. She put leg warmers on me, and she put shit in my hair, and she took those like foil gold stars,
Yep.
those like little packs. She put those all over my fucking shit. Like they created a category for me called most weird one. You know, they didn't have it, but people like they didn't know what to make of it. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I didn't care. Like, fine. Everyone's noticing me though. Like, I won most weird.
There's nothing wrong with that. Just. Oh. That sounds like the category I would go for. So,
Wish I had a photo of it. It is plumb fucking ridiculous. No
I would love
photos.
to see that video.
Yeah. But that's what I think about. Like that was my mom's idea. The reason I bring it up is that was my mom's idea of a Halloween costume because my mom was on crystal meth. Like
That would
this
definitely explain a lot. So,
this guy, you know, this guy who Roman covered in his documentary was putting up these photos of. It's a guy who's pretending to be an artist.
yeah.
Is it Granito or whatever his name is?
Yeah, Rob Garrido or something. Yeah.
I used to call him Graniter, like a Granita, like a
Yeah.
Granita. Because I don't remember names. So I get to associate it with food or I will never remember. Yeah, but he was a Rob, just, we got it tough enough, Robs. We don't need fucking these dudes too.
Yep.
But it was
Rob.
one of the reasons why for the longest time I just didn't share my fucking, I would always do a little Calvin Hobbes little test, but I would never share this stuff because of that fucking dude.
Yeah, I don't
You
blame you.
know?
But yeah, God, that guy. I worked for
Which is
Bill
also
Watterson.
which is also why when I do a little art test, I'm 100% like I show the original art now too, I don't just go put it in the description. Like I attach Bill's original shit. I'm like, here's what I did. Like it's just
Yeah.
this is stuff I occupy my free time with. I'm not here to take credit for anybody's shit or to claim like I could go around making this whenever I want. Just when I get bored, this is what I like doing with my free time. So I'm sharing it because I think a lot of artists do, and I think especially as they get older or in a more career focus, I think they feel they can't do that. Like that's fan shit, and they've gone beyond that. And I think they still do it. They just never show it
Mm-hmm.
because they're afraid to. And I'm like, I'm not. I've had artists say, man, it's really great you show it because I'm like, yeah, I figured this was going on. I'm like, I just don't care. Like, how did you develop this art? Well, I drew like this on my free time and figured out my own way of doing it. and I spent I don't know a couple years doing it, and now I can incorporate it in my art.
Yeah.
And I shared the whole process, so you don't feel fucking shamed. The shame comes in taking credit for other people's work,
Right.
stealing, right? Like legitimately printing out someone's art and janking it and putting your name on it. That's bullshit. But if the guy was literally saying, "Hey man, I'm a big fan of fucking Bill Watterson, so I just make recreations," if he
That
was
would have been
just
fine.
honest, if he was just honest about it, like I just make recreations, like I'm redrawing them really big so people can buy this stuff, at a really, an affordable fucking price, but buy a giant version of it, then, no one would fucking. I don't even think Bill Watterson would give two shits, to be perfectly honest with you. No one would fucking care. They'd be like, all right, cool. He's the guy that does that fucking thing. But he had to go and fucking. He wouldn't even. He was printing shit out and painting around it.
Yep.
Like, what is that? Like,
I
I mean,
don't.
no
I.
offense. Like, to Mr. Water to invent Calvin and Hobbes, it takes an act of genius. But to redraw Calvin and Hobbes just takes doesn't take a lot of talent. You know what I'm saying? Like to
Yeah.
copy that at a large, like if you can copy a photo, you can copy that drawing. You know what I mean? Like that inventing it is the hard part. Drawing that way, figuring it out, doing it daily, for 10 fucking years and inventing the stories. All that stuff is the hard part.
Right.
Redrawing it would be the easiest fucking thing you could do. Perfectly honest. So like the fact that he didn't even do that, like,
Yeah. It doesn't make sense. I mean, it's
well, it makes
just.
sense because he's a total fucking fraud.
Well,
You
yeah.
know?
But it also when he was saying that he's like, I'm working for Bill Watterson. It's like anybody who knew anything about Watterson knew he did not
Right.
use assistants.
Right.
Now, if he did it
Right.
with Garfield, he could have pulled it off for like ever.
Well, there was a piece that came. I've been saying this for like Garfield's one where I learned shape design, right?
Yeah.
Um, so like
I,
recently I heard at his auction, there was a grip of Garfield shit that hit. So much of it, I was like, well, maybe now I might be able to find something within a reasonable range, because I refuse to pay. I don't care if it says Jim Davis on there. He didn't draw the shit.
nope.
You want to see Jim Davis's art? Go to 1978. And I figured this out when I was a kid because I would get the original Garfield and go, man, the art's really changed. He got better, And in the fifth grade, my teacher, this chick I fucking hated, Mrs. Kennedy, brought a friend of hers who could animate. He was an actual animator. I don't know what he worked on. He's probably like a Phil Roman guy type, right? It was really
Yeah.
weird. I lived in this hillbilly part of fucking San Diego, East County, but she knew a dude, and this dude came in and taught us all that Blair Preston, with the stick figure guy who can bounce and walk and shit. Brought all that
Yeah.
shit in, right? So I brought up Garfield, and he go, yeah, he doesn't draw that. He has assistants. I'm like, assistants, and then I thought he's like, yeah, someone else does that, and he puts his name on it. I was like, great, so I could get a job drawing Garfield. Like, I didn't even think that was a bad. I was like, I have a chance. Um, but I refuse to pay thousands of dollars for someone else's fucking art with another dude's name on it.
Right.
Like if you want another artist to take over Garfield, put Jim Davis and created by Jim Davis, art by. How about that?
Right.
But
That would have been
it's a
fine.
bunch of
But
fucking lies, is what it is. So
yeah. Exactly.
anyway, this piece came over, and I had a range. I was like, I'm not paying more than $300, and I got pretty far into the game, and some fucking dude like ended up outbidding me by like $20, and I'm like, if I go down this path, it'll start going into 400, 500 range. I'm not doing it, you know? So I'm not paying more than $300 for something that I only have. And it featured all the characters, by the way. Like, that was the whole reason why I was interested in it. I mean, it had all
Yeah.
they would go to the farm and it had all the characters and shit. So I was like, this would
Hmm.
be worth having on the wall because of what that meant to me at a specific moment in my life. Not that I fucking love the comic now.
Yeah.
The only Garfield I really enjoy now is the shit we grew up with, like the 80s cartoons.
Hmm.
And then somebody has a Twitter account called Garfield Out a Window. And it's a Garfield comic, and it always ends up with Garfield being thrown out a window. Doesn't matter what it is, and it's fucking hilarious. I can't get
That
enough
sounds
of it.
amazing.
Yeah.
Uh, oh, I gotta do shading. Oh man, I really like that look with those.
Yeah, these pens are a little. I don't know, drier is not the word I'm thinking of, but there's a more rigidness to them than the black Copics.
Hmm.
So normally when you want a really thin line with black, you need that .03, right?
Yeah.
But because the ink flows differently out of these than the black, it's a little
Mhm.
stiffer. They only make a .05 for a reason because it's you can get as thin a line with the .05s as you can with
Oh, that's good.
a .03. Yeah.
That's very good.
If you're ever wondering why don't they make a .03? Because the ink wouldn't flow. Like it flows differently, but you kind of don't need it anyway. So
Fair enough. Yeah, I'll probably get a couple next week. Won't buy 50, but you know.
I stocked up for a while.
Yeah. Excuse me.
But yeah, if I ran out, I would just be like, well, I guess I'll bust out the old fucking. I use the Maru nib pen, the super sharp one,
Yeah.
and I'll just use it with that Klingner ink, you know.
Hmm. Yeah, I like the pumpkin orange when you add
Yeah,
that in.
just yeah, it makes a difference. Like,
I have a funny story on was it on Friday night? I was on Daniel Warren Johnson's stream. I was just hanging out in the audience, and he was trying to do a change to his logo, and he's like, I don't know how to do any of this Photoshop stuff with this, and he's like complaining, he's doing. I'm like, you're hurting me. Just send me the file and for his logo. I'm like, you just need the colors changed. I'm like, you just hit the um give it a gradient overlay from the uh the add-on effects you can just do on any layer. And he's like, oh, I know where that is. I'm like, getting colder, colder. No, just send me the file.
yeah, it's funny. That's why when we talk about technical versus creative, right? He's all creative,
Oh God, yeah.
and when it comes to a computer, I'm certain it's extremely limited, right? There's just only so much bandwidth artists have to
Yeah.
go through like the career I went through, where it's always a level of technical ability juxtaposed with you better be creative. The t-shirt game, especially when I got in, was like everyone there was reading juxtapose, which I was like, what the fuck is this? I
Mm-hmm.
was like, oh, this is that artsy fartsy shit I don't give two shits about. But I had to
Right.
become very familiar with it because I'd have to learn how to create in that way. Like I had to just learn to do so much. So like, and then on top of that, while doing any kind of game development, like you just to have a well-rounded level of creative and technical skill is the rarity. Like it just doesn't really exist for a lot. And it shouldn't because it takes time away. I'd be a much better illustrator if I never had to fucking sit around and dealing with that bullshit. But then you end up in something like um Barry Windsor Smith, right? Who still
Mm-hmm.
to this day doesn't really know how to use a scanner. He has to have someone like yeah, it doesn't can't I don't know, like it's just funny. It's like, yeah, I mean,
Well, it's like with what was it? I have a very high technical background just because of all my professional career for so long was working for you know doing network stuff for like Verizon and shit. So then I ended up working for WGBH. So it's like,
right.
yep, you got all this background. And then, I always drew. And I reached out to you, and you're like, no, no, study this stuff. You'll get better. And amazingly, it worked.
Yeah, I mean, how better you get, it's always up to the artist. Like it's
Yeah.
almost sometimes it's almost like when you're working on
physique, some of it's genetics. Like you can only achieve so much, but you can always get incrementally better at something if you spend time at it. Like,
Mhm.
like noticeable differences. And I try to go point it. Look at what Brandon's been doing, and just go back a few years, and you'll see. Like, if you actually do the work, you will have a noticeable improvement.
Mhm.
You know.
No, I definitely think I've improved. I was looking at some of actually I posted some stuff from like a couple of years ago that I did, and then I posted some the more recent stuff I'm doing. I think I've definitely improved.
I've only
So
felt a couple times that I was going backwards, in my career in the last 20 years. And it happened a couple years ago, one specifically when I was working for like on Overwatch and stuff. And I was just like, my personal art, but I was like, am I getting worse or am I just depressed? I think I might be depressed. So, that's right when I took all that Power Ranger commission stuff from that dude. I'm like I'll do this. But I told him, I said, I may not get to this like in a year, but it'll be the next thing I work on kind of thing. How about that? And he's like, all right. And then it wasn't, but he's been patient. Like, you know, I've come through for him before, but I was just like, I'm going through shit. So if you want your money back, I'll send you your money back. It sits in a fucking vault. I don't spend it. So it's like, I don't really care. He's like, no, I just want the art. I'm like, I wish you'd just take your money back. But that I'm gonna wrap that up here soon enough.
I'm looking
He's
forward to
like, you
seeing
want?
more of that.
Everyone says that, but I'm like, you the guys are the only ones. I'm not. I work on it just enough to annoy me, and then I'm like, I need to not do this for a couple days, and then I'll come back. It's just not my fucking thing, you know. It's just
Yeah,
not my thing. It's the thing. Like I'm like, especially their helmets. Like, these are needlessly detailed, And it's like, well, just Sean Galloway, just do what he did. He drew nothing. I'm like, yeah, but then it'll look like his versions. It's not gonna work.
right.
It's not gonna work. Like great.
Yep.
Taking the easy way out is always the fucking solution. I'm not easy. Like that's just his style, but I could see how people would. It's just I know there's one way to do it, and I'll just do that, but begrudgingly. He knows it
Mhm.
too. He's like, I'm sorry, man. If you don't want, it. I'm like, nah, fucking, I'll do it. I don't want to do it, but I'll find a way, you know, and it'll be my own, and then hopefully I'll never do it again. you know, People are like, I really love those Power Rangers. Will you draw me one? No.
I've done it. I'm not doing it again.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm done with that one.
Oh, somebody posted like all the Ultra Force stuff we'll never see again.
Well, Marvel owns it.
Yeah, so we'll never see it. So
All right, I think this is ready for color pencil. What time is it?
it is
It is
1:30
11:30.
my time. So you're 2 hours behind me, I think.
Yeah, it's 11:30.
Yeah, I gotta get ready to go out over to my mom's. She's making salmon, and well, I can eat salmon, so I want salmon. Uh, so I'm going to bail.
I will stream some of the color pencils on this. I don't know if I'll be streaming all of them, but we'll stream some of it.
Yeah, that
So,
sounds
but
cool.
there is. Let me get the whole fucking thing there. Well, it's the best I can. Let me see if I can.
Oh, it's looking
No,
great.
there we go.
You'll post some pictures of it too, so that'll be cool. Uh,
Yeah, I'll post a high res
hmm,
that, but
I'm looking forward to seeing it.
it's fun.
All
It's
right.
fun. And go follow Jerk Comics. Watch Roman's documentaries. It's super fucking
Oh,
awesome.
definitely check his stuff out.
Yeah,
He's great.
Kelly Jones interview too. Seriously, even if you're not like, oh, like Kelly Jones, doesn't matter. As an
No, just
artist, you
just
should
watch
listen
the
to.
interview. So,
Yeah,
it's so
yeah.
good. All
And I
right.
will see you all soon. Peace,
Yep. See
everybody.
you later. Bye.